Welcome, everyone. We are gathered here today and on this lovely Tuesday to welcome everyone and celebrate our all of our efforts around the state of Arizona for digital inclusion. So thank you all. The theme for this year's Digital Inclusion Week is building connected communities. So we're going to talk a lot today about what it is that we're doing to make sure all Arizonans have access to affordable broadband connectivity and the devices they need and the skills they need to engage in the digital world. My name is Stephanie Pierotti. I am the director of ShapingEDU here at ASU, and I am happy to welcome you all. We gathered at this time last year, and I'm happy to see you all back. Can't wait to find out what everyone's been up to. We have lots of exciting updates, and generally what we're going to do today is hear 5 to 10 minute presentations about what's going on around the state. There's so many amazing projects and so many amazing people working on all of these projects that want to share with you what it is that they're doing. So we have 9 topics we'll be covering today. We have 26 speakers. We have over 100 folks that have registered to join us today. So we would like to have everyone introduce themselves by disclosing visual information that we may or may not be able to see depending on our level of ability. So we want to make sure that we are describing ourselves when we introduce ourselves. My name is Stephanie Pierotti. I am of Western European origin, and I have brownish gray hair. I'm wearing a brown headband, and in my background is a map of folks that are all over the world. So that's how I would like, as I'm introducing everyone, to introduce themselves, their physical appearance. So I'd like to start with an Indigenous land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Arizona State University's 4 campuses are located on the ancestral territories of Indigenous people, including the Akmaodum, and the Peeposh, the Indian communities whose knowledge and stewardship of the lands and waterways allow us to be here today. And we further acknowledge that Arizona is home to 22 tribal nations that comprise 27% of Arizona's total land base. And we recognize the sovereignty of these nations. And we work to foster an environment that helps everyone in Arizona thrive, including our friends in the Native American community. And we'd like to thank everyone from the Digital Equity Institute. We'll have Erin Carr-Jordan, one of the co-founders of the Digital Equity Institute and the CEO, joining us shortly, and she'll tell us all about what Digital Equity Institute is working on. As I did mention, it is Digital Inclusion Week. National Digital Inclusion Alliance is bringing us this week. And the theme of building connected communities is what we will lean into today. So one of the things that we developed last year was a graphic which helps us understand what some of the core problems are that we are addressing. Once we have folks connected to the internet, what is it that they can actually do with that? It's more than just connecting socially and being able to stream movies and all that fun stuff. We can participate in a larger digital world and really expand who we connect with and why we're connecting with them. So lots of investigating around that will happen today, so we won't spend too much time on that. If you could just share 1 or 2 words, what you think is the most important component of digital inclusion. Is it community building? Is it telehealth? Is it online learning? Is it being connected to new employment opportunities, to government services? What do you think really fuels us as we're talking about digital inclusion? So you can share that. And throughout the day, we'll be asking you to share your thoughts and chat about various things. So please use the Zoom chat as the mechanism for sharing your thoughts. We have a message from ASU's CIO, Lev, who is going to talk to us about what ASU is doing in the wonderful world of digital inclusion. We'll have Erin and Dom talking to us about the state of the state. And then we'll dive into the work of the Indigenous and rural communities. We'll talk about broadband initiatives that are happening throughout the state. We'll talk about the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, and various digital navigation activities. We'll talk about community engagement, all of the things that are happening from our friends at different organizations around the state. We'll talk about digital literacy and skill building, and then we'll also talk about STEM education and workforce development, and then we'll wrap up by talking about telehealth. So just a couple of things we like to, when we have in-person events at ShapingEDU, we have what we call an acronym swear jar. So we try not to use acronyms without telling people what they are first. Let's not assume that everyone knows what every acronym is, but we want to make sure that everyone knows what we're talking about here. So ACP is the Affordable Connectivity Program. When we're talking about ISPs, those are internet service providers. NDIA are our friends over at the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, not to be confused with NTIA, which is National Telecommunications Information Administration. And SCN are our friends over at Sun Corridor Network. So if you have other acronyms that you're planning on using or hear a lot and would like to share, just so we can all be on the same page, that would be great. And we are going to start with the state of the state. So we're going to hear from Dr. Lev Gonick from ASU, talking about all the activities that are happening around ASU as it pertains to digital equity. Then we'll hear from Erin and Dom, talking to us a little bit about their activities and Digital Equity Institute's initiatives to promote digital equity within Arizona. And then we'll hear from Candace from ACA, who is going to, see how you just used an acronym, Arizona Commerce Authority, to talk to us about Indigenous activity around digital equity. And then we'll hear from Mignonne Hollis with the Arizona Regional Economic Development Foundation's activities in rural communities. So let's get started by hearing from Lev.
Well, hi, everybody. It's Lev Gonick, ASU's CIO, and I want to be among the first to welcome you to this year's celebration and recognition of National Digital Inclusion Week. This is a national celebration going off across the country. Last week, I had a chance to meet with Angela Seifer. She leads the National Digital Inclusion Alliance. I had a chance to brief her, and again, very briefly to you all this morning, just the range of things that are underway across ASU with respect to our engagement with the community, to extend all of the insights and all of the energy and all of the programmatic efforts that connect ASU to the community, particularly in the area of digital equity and digital inclusion. So again, central to everything that we do at ASU is our charter. The charter of the institution speaks to student access, it speaks to research in the public interest, and it speaks specifically about being socially embedded. Certainly all of our digital equity work that we do here at ASU, all the work that we do in partnership with others like the Digital Equity Institute, is all focused in on the partnerships, to being socially embedded, to be addressing the priorities, not only of the university, but actually in this context, actually the priorities of the community that ASU can be of service to. And again, across ASU, we've had a number of collaborations that are worth just briefly mentioning. Certainly our engagement to support understanding, awareness, training, and even devices to the community for the ACP program, which is the national subsidy through the FCC for access to the internet for those who need it. Certainly those who are eligible for it. That is a program that ASU is directly involved with as a provider to both the Digital Equity Institute and to Common Sense Media, a partnership that is really proving to touch thousands of people in Maricopa County. We're also directly involved in a collaboration with both the Sun Corridor Network and the Digital Equity Institute in supporting the engagement with communities across the region that are involved in creating community neighborhood hives, which I hope you'll be hearing more about through the program. That is to say, locations in communities across the metro area, whether those are in public housing facilities, libraries, dedicated economic redevelopment zones, and the like, trying to actually stand up facilities where people can drop in, learn about, and actually begin to make use of the internet activities. There's also a new initiative, which again, I just want to share with all of you this today, and that is as1.info, az-1.info is a new collaboration that we're doing across all of the state of Arizona. AZ-1 is meant to be said as one, working together to advance everything that ASU can do to support the community at large. I hope today's webinar is informative. We look forward to your feedback, and thanks again for the opportunity to share a couple minutes with you.
Now I will welcome up to the stage Erin Carr-Jordan and Dom.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see you.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. My name, thanks everyone out there. My name is Dom Papa. I am of Western European descent. I am bald with blue eyes and wearing a black shirt, channeling my best Steve Jobs as I'm sitting in front of the fireplace for this State of the State Fireside Chats. Erin, do you want to maybe introduce yourself real quick?
Sure, absolutely. My name is Erin Carr-Jordan. I am of Western descent. I have brown hair and blue eyes, and I'm wearing a green shirt, and I am over the moon to get to have this conversation with all of you today and to be joined by our old and dear friend Dom, channeling his best Steve Jobs.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining. It's so invigorating being in the midst of so many incredible leaders and change makers. There's no doubt that building connected communities requires a coalition of the willing, such as we have here today. And I can safely say that we all share really two things in common. One, we believe that our communities and our state can be better, smarter, more connected, and more inclusive. And two, that each of us as individuals and collectively as a team have the power to do something about that. And honestly, no one might believe that more than my special guest for this State of the State Fireside Chat, Dr. Erin Carr-Jordan, President and CEO of the Digital Equity Institute. Erin, thanks for gathering such an incredible group of leaders today. But first of all, how are you?
I am so excited. I'm looking around the room, and everybody who was joining early, I just kept waving, saying hello, hello, waving. We get to work with the overwhelming majority of folks who are in the room today, and it's the best feeling in the world to have a space where we get to showcase the work happening all around the state of Arizona. People might not know it because they're in their respective spaces, but collectively in this state, we are doing some of the best work in the country, and having an opportunity to draw attention to folks who in their space are just doing amazing stuff and helping other people to become aware of it is just really, really cool. And I'm excited to be able to have this space today.
That's incredible. And absolutely, hopefully this Fireside Chat provides everyone a preview of all those efforts that are going on across the state. So Erin, with your extensive experience at DEI, Digital Equity Institute, and having been instrumental in driving initiatives that really bridge the digital divide in communities all across Arizona, the work you're doing is not just commendable, but it's making an actual difference in Arizona. So let's just jump in, and we'll start at the very high level and we'll kind of work our way down. So the state of Arizona, as a lot of us know, is on a mission to develop a robust digital equity plan. Governor Hobbs and the Arizona Commerce Authority has selected Digital Equity Institute to lead that effort. Can you discuss how the Digital Equity Institute is contributing towards shaping this plan, and what are the key focus areas that you believe will significantly impact the resident affairs in Arizona and maybe where we are now?
Sure, absolutely. So Arizona Commerce Authority, on behalf of the state of Arizona, is leading the digital equity planning for our state. They hired DEI to act as a research entity to essentially better understand what's happening in every corner of the state. So over the course of the last year, our team had the great privilege, quite frankly, of traveling all around Arizona, meeting with folks as part of a listening session, really everywhere, in rural, remote, tribal, urban, suburban areas, bringing together folks to really sit and listen. We didn't do a lot of talking. We did a lot of tell us more about what you're doing, deep, intentional listening to say, what capacity challenges currently exist, what barriers exist, what are people doing really well, what systems and structures are people already leveraging, and how are they being impactful? so that as this plan was put together, that it was truly reflective of Arizona and the needs of Arizona. And so it wasn't just, hey, we think you need this. We're going to write this into something and give it to you. And then all of a sudden we think that there's going to be change. We knew that that would not work. And so with a wonderful partner in Arizona Commerce Authority and with support of the governor's office, we did what I think was a deep dive, a really deep dive with a lot of folks, and were comprehensive in our understanding of what's happening in the state. So our plan, in collaboration with the wonderful Candace Hamana, will be submitted for public comment. I think one of the most important pieces is that the plan doesn't come from just a couple of entities. It needs to be informed by public opinion. And so we think the draft is reflective of the needs of the community. We think people will read it and see themselves in it. We think the stories that we are telling directly from the voices of the community will be the voices that resonate, because people hear what the experiences are in each of the different counties, in each of these different cities. So we think it's reflective. But at the end of the day, we really need to understand from the members of the community whether they think it's reflective. So it will be made available for public comment. People can weigh in and say, hey, did you think about this? Or this might be a good addition, or hey, this is fabulous, great job, let's go. And so all of those things are possible, right? And that public comment period is fast approaching. The first draft is done. I think a lot of folks sat around in a room, a very diverse room, reflective of the diversity of Arizona. And we said, okay, as a draft, we think this is good. In fact, we think it's going to be one of the best in the country. I think our approach was super sound. We had a lot of really smart, kind, ethical humans who, leveraged their heart and soul and expertise to put it together. And so now it just goes out and people can tell us what they think so that we can make sure that it's really as good as it possibly can be. And then it goes to NTIA, one of those acronyms that we put up at the front. Thank you, Stephanie, for that. So it goes to NTIA. NTIA says, we agree with you. This is a fabulous plan. And then we hit the accelerator and get going. And then we start to think about how to deploy those things that are part of that plan and move into capacity building and start addressing the challenges with appropriate funding. So we're looking forward to that on behalf of all of the communities across the state.
That's terrific. And you heard it here, folks. Get the word out. We need to comment on that. So Erin, so now let's drill down a little bit, closer into the Metro Phoenix region, the Maricopa County that I think Lev alluded to. Thanks to the leadership of Supervisor Gates last year, awarded a $35 million investment to disrupt digital inequity in the region. Can you elaborate on the initiatives and partnership that DEI has undertaken or is working on through that effort?
Sure, absolutely. So, with the state, we're supporting planning in Maricopa County with the wonderful collaboration that we have with Arizona State University and Sun Corridor Network. We're in the doing phase. So like you said, Supervisor Gates and the Board of Supervisors approved a significant investment in our 3 organizations, and frankly, with our collaborators, who a lot of them are here, and we're so excited for that, to actually go and address digital inequity, right? So we know that there are a couple of things that are the primary components. We talk about it as ecosystems, and ecosystems are really the humans. Sometimes we talk about the components of digital equity, things like digital skill building, devices, support systems, connectivity, right? Those things are the important components of addressing digital inequity, but the humans are the thing. Humans are the piece that requires the most attention, because the ecosystems that exist are humans interacting with one another, and the things that they have that are available for them that are the difference between thriving and struggling. And so understanding how people are connected in the systems that they are using and what is available or not available and where those barriers and challenges lie, so that as we begin to implement programs, practices, all kinds of things like the hives, that we're doing it with a deep understanding of what people really need. And that accelerates our progress towards positive outcomes. and change. And so on the digital equity side of the house, the DEI side of the house, we are doing a couple of things. And we have several of our partners here today. Shout out to Elena, our partner from Common Sense. We're about to launch a massive ACP campaign. We know that ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, is just about the most effective tool that we have in the toolkit for addressing affordability. You know, a lot of people in the comments were talking about access, and access is really important, but access without the actual ability to adopt, you're part of the way there. So, right, ACP is a mechanism to get us from awareness to adoption, so that people, once connectivity is available, can actually access it and can begin to use it, because ACP helps with that cost piece. And so we're about to launch a massive ACP campaign. Lev alluded to the fact that we are standing up hives, excuse me, of course. We're standing up hives, and hives are really community centers of the future, right? What we want to do is understand where folks are already providing services and not do that. We want to fill gaps and add capacity to folks who have been doing work for a really long time. So hives are places that are designed to be spaces of belonging. They're based around ideas of welcoming, where people can begin to go from not engaging to meaningfully engaging by growing their comfort and confidence using digital devices, growing skills. It's a place where hopefully, like, possibility is possible, right? You can come in and you can learn to begin just to use a computer, right? Things that might be basic, that might be unfamiliar, but because we have this wonderful digital navigator core, this group of humans, Alexa is here, hello Alexa, and several other digital navigators who are the beating heart of a lot of this work. Like, the navigators help people transition from the not knowing to knowing, and then that scaffolding approach. How do you build on those skills in a way that anything is possible? So for kiddos who come in who aren't used to being around computers, helping them to get comfortable, and then what is possible, right? Do you want to be in tech? Do you want to be a coder? Do you want to grow power skills? Like, all of the things. One of the beautiful things I think about DEI is that we're sector and stakeholder agnostic. We come to the table with this idea that we want to work with everybody, like every single organization and entity. We would like to leverage the skill and strength and expertise for the benefit of the humans. How do we make sure all of these different pieces can work collectively for the benefit of people? And so in hives, hopefully all of that happens. So we have device providers that meet the needs of people, that address diversity in a way that looks at accessibility through every possible lens. So it doesn't matter if you have a cognitive or an intellectual or a developmental disability, there's a mechanism that will help you engage meaningfully and fully, right? And then ACP, and then digital navigators and all of this stuff. And I would be remiss if I didn't draw attention to the incredible work that's happening in both Sun Corridor Network and at ASU. I think one of the most important things, and these threads will be pulled throughout the day today, because we have experts from every aspect of this space. And so I don't want to take any of that amazingness that is going to be shared throughout the day. But I do want to say, like, some of the work that's happening is foundational work that is just so essential to getting this stuff right, including some of the mapping work, right? We know that FCC launched maps. We know that ISPs provided some data. We need to make those data digestible for people, right? So that people can come in and look at the data, interpret the data, and then use those data to decision make. And so ASU has been doing this wonderful work about taking all of the maps that exist, creating an ecosystem that then regular people can look at and say, and it's very important that people be able to use data, right? And that there is confidence in data. So creating a mapping ecosystem where people can just look and say, ooh, this makes sense. Or one of the other things is there's a challenge process that's about to happen. And so for our government partners, and we have lots of them, being able to look at those data and to say, I don't think those are accurate, or those are absolutely accurate, or anything like that. So at the end of the day, as Arizonans, we have data that we know are accurate and that everyone can leverage to decision make in an open source way. Like, this should all be free and totally available. and then the important work that we do with Sun Corridor Network. This is a very long answer to your question, Dom. SCN is, one of our connectivity partners, right? And so making sure that as we go into places and we identify capacity challenges, and we work in an invitation way, like invite us in, we will absolutely come in and we will be of service in a way that you find valuable. They tell us how to behave and we will behave in that way and leverage all of the stuff in our toolkit to do it. SCN is one of those great benefits that addresses connectivity, particularly for community anchors. And those are like the word is perfect, right? Community anchor. They're the folks that are the trusted messengers in every community that are the beating heart, right? So the work that we're doing, we're incredibly excited about it. We are launching skills trainings. We're partnered with tons of literacy providers, including Brian from learning.com, who's here today. Hi, Brian. And just all of this amazing work. Can you tell I'm excited?
Yeah, absolutely. and you can tell how incredibly complex it is. And, I think just listening to you speak about the complexity, the number of people involved, we understand what a task this is. And we thank you for your leadership and really taking the lead and helping drive, a cohesive statewide strategy. I know we're at time, but Erin, you talked about ecosystems. You mentioned a lot of partners, but I do want to give you a chance. If there's any other corporate partners for you to provide a shout out while we're here, while we have them, or anyone else you just like to say thanks as we close out this State of the State Fireside Chat, last parting words for the group.
Oh my goodness. Just quickly in the chat, because I just always like to see this. If you are someone or an entity that's working with DEI, can you just like put a yes or hi or something like that? For us, it's really important to work with everybody. So if there's yes, hey, for us, it's wonderful because we want to draw attention to every partner in this space, because like folks are just doing amazing work, whether it is Cox or Apple or Sun Corridor or learning.com, or we have Bamboo Learning, Common Sense, all of the folks. The one thing I absolutely want to draw attention to very quickly before we end. These are ecosystems, right? And it takes a village. That old saying of, it takes a village. I like to pick that up and drop it in and apply it to all of the work that we do. We know there's a ton of money coming in. I get that. And I know that people decision make around money, and that's wonderful. It will be impossible for us to address digital inequity if we do not work together. It will take all of us collectively leveraging our strength. I call them superpowers, our superpower, and bringing it to the table and just saying, how can we collectively do this? And then there is a significant likelihood that we will move the needle, because when we're doing it all together and we're not trying to do all the things, we're trying to do the thing that we are exceptional at. When we're able to do that, then mountains move. And so I look forward to being able to look to my left, to my right, and behind me and in front of me and say, I'm working with everyone in this room, and together we are making Arizona a more equitable space where everyone is thriving and we're prepared for the future. So thanks so much for inviting me today. It's been an absolute joy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Erin. We really appreciate it. And we're all in. Stephanie, yeah. Back over to you.
Thank you so much to Erin and to Dom. We are moving on now to Mignonne. So Mignonne is going to talk to us about Arizona Regional Economic Development is doing in rural communities. Welcome, Mignonne.
So speaking of broadband, I'm working at home and my internet is sometimes not the most stable. So bear with me. I have brown hair, brown skin. I'm wearing a blue and white polka dotted dress, and I live in Cochise County. And I'm so pleased that I got to go on the heels of Erin and her team around the Digital Equity Institute, because as Erin said, the complexity of it is overwhelming. And so it's partners like you in the room that are so necessary for us to be able to do the work that we do. We're new into the game, and so we appreciate the invitation today. And really, I'm here just to say, hey, everyone, we really need to partner with you. The rural communities, we have less resources. And while ASU provides such great resources, when you're in an organization where you're only one person deep, it's pretty hard to know everything that you have to do and all the opportunities that are out there. So I've been fortunate enough to be tasked through the Benton Institute to work on a project called Arizona Broadband for All. And you can check out that website, arizonabroadbandforall.org. Really what we're doing is building a coalition so that we're getting the word out to these smaller communities too, to say we're here to help. Just sign up for this and then we're going to come back with one assignment for you, versus this overwhelming task of looking at all the opportunities and saying, I don't even know where to start. So we're really trying to do that in bite sizes. And then along with folks like you, Stephanie, and Erin and others in the room, to say, okay, here's what I found. How can you help me? Here's what my community is saying. And by my community, I'm talking about the rural communities that are out there. There's lots of things that keep me up at night around this. The sheer amount of access to broadband. We had a roundtable of contractors last week in our office, and the topic was workforce and how do we get there. And the number one thing was access to broadband, access to the internet. We can't even get a workforce when down the street they don't even have access to the internet. So it's things like that that affect everything in our job. Talk about the education. The other thing is justice. In the court systems, they're really moving to put so much online so that everyone can participate in court, and they can now not have to worry about transportation, because they discover transportation is a huge thing in making court dates, right? So now they've done this, that it's virtual. Well, if you don't have broadband or access to it, or it's not affordable, or you don't know how to use it, how's that going to help you? So again, there's some underlying core things that we need to think about. And of course, healthcare. I'm super excited to hear what's done with telehealth. We tried to do a telehealth center here in one of our facilities. And so, we just have a lot of challenges, and we really look to all of you to help us. And that is about it that I have, other than we're really trying to get the work out there and the word out there, and to help our smaller communities and those that don't have the access, or even know all the fantastic work that everyone else is doing, and trying to get that out into our communities.
Sure. Nakwang Galongva, na Candace Hamana. That's good morning. My name is Candace Hamana. I am an Indigenous matriarch for my community. I am from the Hopi tribe, and I am wearing a pink shirt, and I'm waving to everybody out there in the digital space today. I would like to thank Arizona State University and the Digital Equity Institute for the invitation to come and speak and celebrate Digital Inclusion Week. I am the tribal liaison here at the Arizona Commerce Authority. And most of my work, I would say 95% of my work right now, involves participating on our broadband team. Arizona has a historic opportunity right now to close the digital divide, with almost $1 billion in what we call BEAD funding. And I saw in the chat, people understand BEAD is the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, as well as additional funding for digital equity. What I have been charged with so far has been to draft a digital equity plan for the tribes. This is going to fold into the larger plan for the state, and I think we're working with our partners, Dr. Erin Carr-Jordan and her fabulous team, to develop this digital equity plan, and she has the incredible job of kind of taking the draft plan that I have for tribal communities and incorporating that into the larger body of work that we'll be able to share with everyone in the coming months. But in order to make that draft plan happen for tribes, I have been out on listening tours and doing tribal engagement, really getting a sense of, first of all, just kind of understanding that there's always been digital inequity in our tribal communities. And I think that's something that is important when you're setting out to do this work, is just recognizing first and foremost that there is so much digital inequity when it comes to accessibility, affordability, infrastructure, that exists within our Indigenous communities. And so knowing and coming from that place myself as a young girl who, was born on the reservation and had then moved down into the city, really kind of informs the work and helps me meet tribal communities and our leaders where they're at. We do have 22 tribal nations here in Arizona. They all have unique challenges and opportunities through the BEAD and digital equity funding. What I think we've gathered, or what at least I've identified as 8 key focus areas for our tribal communities, is broadband infrastructure, affordable devices, digital literacy, cultural relevance, especially with elder community members. Some of them don't speak English. And so understanding the importance of digital inclusion means making sure that, our elder community members are not being left behind. Making it accessible and inclusive, bolstering support for our identified community anchor institutions. This is important, especially for the most rural tribal communities. A lot of the funding that became available to the state is because of the fact that so many of our youth and our folks who needed medical care during the pandemic were unable to receive that because they had no access to internet. And so understanding the importance that these community anchor institutions play for our tribal communities is essential in developing this digital equity plan. Also understanding that capacity building is something that we need to take into consideration. So you're talking about workforce development, and how can we do that? How can we partner? Does it mean we reach out to tribal colleges and universities? And then, as Dr. Erin Carr-Jordan mentioned earlier, and I think everyone here is in agreement on, is the idea that we need to have the ongoing collaboration. I feel very blessed and fortunate that, our broadband team is working hand in hand with the governor's office and with different partner organizations that are really helping to carry this significant load of work that is just all too important to every Arizonan, but especially from a tribal perspective. I'm definitely making sure in my work that we're highlighting that need, and that my commitment is going to be to making sure that no tribal community is left behind. So it is a tall order. I am very much feel like I'm treading water. I'm drinking from a fire hose, as a lot of people say when you when you get into something as complex and as detail oriented as this type of work, but it's too important. And then lastly, I think another way that we're working collaboratively to increase digital equity is we're just allowing ourselves to envision the success of actually being able to use these funds in a way that we're closing that digital divide a little bit more. So I'm actually just going to ask everybody who can safely close their eyes with me right now. You'll close your eyes. I need to read, but we're going to envision success for tribal communities when it comes to digital inclusion. Envisioning success means seamless access to digital tools and resources across all tribal communities, from the urban areas to the most remote rural tribal lands. Tech literate communities where tribal members can confidently and safely navigate the digital space. And measurable improvements in rural health outcomes due to digital medical modalities, and a marked increase in Native youth securing jobs and careers in technology-related fields. And that's what we're trying to do here at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and that is my specific charge as a tribal liaison. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Candace. We're going to quickly pivot over to talking about broadband. We are going to hear from Blink Public Policy, from Cox, Sun Corridor Network, and from Verizon in the chat. If anyone has thoughts on which broadband project should be prioritized in 2024, please share in the chat. Ben, over to you.
Hey, thanks so much, Stephanie. Really happy to be here. My name is Ben Blink. For my visual description, I'm a blonde male wearing a blue polo shirt, sitting in my home office with white walls here in Phoenix. As Stephanie mentioned, I'm the principal at Blink Public Policy. We are a public affairs and strategy consultancy that specializes in infrastructure and economic development policy. And through that work, I lead public affairs at WECOM Fiber. And I'm thrilled to introduce many of you to what WECOM is up to in Northern Arizona. So thanks so much for advancing the slide, Stephanie. I'll give you a cue when I'm ready to go on each of those. So thank you. And since WECOM is an internet service provider, our core digital inclusion question is, how can we create business models that close the broadband infrastructure gap and bring fast, affordable, and reliable connectivity to rural and tribal Arizona? So today I'll give you a little bit of background on WECOM, share the strategy that we're using to deploy fiber to unserved rural and tribal Arizona, and talk about next steps and what the future holds. So we can go on to the next slide. All right, so WECOM has been providing telecommunications service in Northern Arizona for almost 70 years, and of course has evolved very much over that time. Today, we are primarily a fixed wireless and fiber to the home internet service provider. We serve a huge range of customers, including schools, homes, businesses, first responders in rural and tribal Arizona. And as a rural and tribal first provider, customer service is very much at the core of the business, and WECOM proud to be the reigning and defending Kingman Daily Miner Reader's Choice Award for Best Internet Service Provider for the last 4 years. All right, we can go on to the next slide. All right, and I think we're all aware of the challenges of rural connectivity. If you're lucky enough to have broadband connectivity in rural Arizona, it's generally really expensive. Building fiber and even fixed wireless in remote areas is often very much cost prohibitive. So when internet service is incredibly expensive, it's certainly not inclusive. So for WECOM, after serving rural Arizona with fixed wireless for decades, WECOM saw that rural Arizona needs fiber and it's just not getting there. So we basically sought out a strategy to crack the nut to bring fiber to rural Northwest Arizona. And there are really 4 strategic and necessities that we identified as being really critical to doing this. So I've listed them there. One is obviously a fiber provider who can provide the service. You need existing infrastructure and leveraging that infrastructure anywhere you possibly can. So the key thing is, if there's utility poles, if there's existing middle mile infrastructure, you need to leverage that to reduce the cost as much as possible. Next, you need private investment. Certainly you may be surprised that as a rural first internet service provider, companies like WECOM are not sitting on piles of cash to build out huge rural broadband fiber networks. That outside private investment is really key. And then finally, the critical piece that has really emerged in the last few years are the state and federal funding that can subsidize these projects and make them financially viable for the very first time. Now, certainly underlying all of this is really close community partnership. And that means integrating with local leaders, talking about the needs of each community to build solutions that really meet those needs and reach all of those outcomes. So with these kind of 4 tenets in mind, WECOM really dove in and sought out to go after it in Northern Arizona. So next slide. So just using this approach, we tackled the federal subsidy need by applying for a number of competitive grants, and the strategy is very much working. So in 2020, we won a $3.2 million USDA Reconnect grant to connect almost 1,500 homes on the Hualapai tribe, and working really closely with that community to develop an internet solution for them. In 2021, we won a $10 million Arizona Broadband Development Grant to serve more than 14,000 homes and 31,000 people in Mojave and La Paz counties. And that was the largest single grant in state history. So let me tell you a little bit more about that project on the next slide. There we go. Cool. So just looking at what we're up to right now in Northern Arizona, construction is underway right now on more than 2,000 miles of fiber. With the community, of course, and the economic development team, leveraging county-owned facilities and building to those places, and building networks in a 200-mile kind of straight line path north to south through Mojave and La Paz counties, and getting that infrastructure in the ground. So the work has been ongoing. It's been incredibly successful, and we've got really happy communities, as you can tell by the 2 quotes there. And the big question really became, how do we scale that strategy even further beyond Mojave County there? So on to the next slide. And as I mentioned, one of the core pillars of the strategic priorities is that outside capital investment to help fund this growth. So that strategic pillar is really critical, and it's about aligning with strategic partners that share the same vision. So WECOM realized this and went on the hunt for an investment partner that can support WECOM's operations and fund this type of expansion beyond the successes in Mojave and La Paz counties and with the Hualapai tribe. So WECOM very much found that partner in Searchlight Capital. It's the nation's largest investor in broadband. And Searchlight and its partners specialize in working with rural broadband providers like WECOM, using an almost identical model to what WECOM has done in Mojave County. So another company that Searchlight works with, All Points Broadband in Virginia, used a very large state grant in Virginia and partnered with 19 counties, submitted applications to those grants for each of those counties, won for each of those counties, and received more than $280 million to use in conjunction with their own funding to build a strategy to every eligible unserved and underserved household in each of those counties. So that project is reaching 80,000 unserved homes, and Pew Research actually wrote up a quick piece about that strategy, using the electric utilities and others to make the most cost rural broadband programs possible. So we're really excited about that strategy here in Arizona. On to the next slide. So for next steps, we've heard it many times before, and I've focused on infrastructure here because that's really at the core of what WECOM does. But the $993 million is a generational opportunity that we have in the state right now. And I think all of our attention and partnership and collaboration is going to be critical to make sure that we use those monies wisely and have the projects lined up that we can ensure that we actually solve Arizona's connectivity infrastructure gap once and for all, and have an inclusive state, at least from the infrastructure perspective, moving forward. So there's a couple of core next steps that we've identified. So we'll be working collaboratively with local leaders to identify the needs and develop those fiber build plans. We'll be closely following the guidance and updates from the Arizona Broadband Office, and thanks to them and the whole team at ACA for the work that they're doing, so critical to the state. From the local leader perspective, it's really critical to ensure that county and regional BEAD strategies address all unserved areas and leaving no eligible locations behind. So as you are developing your strategies, just be sure to have that in the back of your mind, is to ensure that that any plan that you're submitting addresses everyone within the boundaries of your geographic area. And then for local leaders and others, just fostering dialogue and ensuring that these partnerships can continue, that these really excellent applications can be submitted, and that we do a great job at the state. So on to the last slide. And just, as folks are getting their teams together going, and developing these plans, we're certainly eager to help. The focus is very much on the unserved communities and underserved, but places really that don't have any options right now are ones that are completely cost prohibitive. So that's kind of the sweet spot of what we're going to be developing. Please be in touch if we can assist in any of your rural broadband strategies. And we're confident that thanks to the leadership in the state and the work that you all are doing, 2024 and 2025 will be the years of broadband connectivity for Arizona. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Ben. We appreciate it. Next up, we have Stephanie from Cox. Stephanie, let's bring you up to the stage.
Hey there. I always like to follow Ben because he does such a nice job in really outlining what's going on in the state, and have had the pleasure of working with him on a couple of different panels. But I'm Stephanie Healy. I'm the Director of Public Affairs for Cox Communications. I have brown hair and my pronouns are she and her. I am of Eastern European descent, actually Ukrainian. I'm in my, I guess, go-to black sweater and jacket combination. And I'm coming to you this morning from my home office as well. My role in public affairs for Cox Communications really has a couple of different facets. Our team is working on delivering digital equity programs and resources all across our markets, but we're also focused on our corporate social responsibility programs. And relevant to today, a piece of my role is also the development of public-private partnerships that support bridging the digital divide, much like what Ben just spoke about too. So we've been really active in this space, as many of you know, over the last couple of years. Really, I'll share with you the last few decades. But what I thought I would share with you today is what we've been doing, where we're headed to at Cox, and then really just kind of leave this with a few watch areas or call outs for all of us to consider as we go into 2024. So let me just say first, thank you to you at ASU and all of you here for elevating this conversation. I think, it goes without saying, digital inclusion and digital equity is such an important, critical piece of our state's success, not just now, but in the future. And so many of us have been involved in this conversation. I think everybody here agrees too. And if you're here, I know you agree with this statement, that it's really about the commitment to going beyond the conversation and moving together from talk to action. So Cox is really pleased and proud to be a part of that. I will also say that digital inclusion has got a lot of attention. I think I heard Erin say that there's a lot of money being invested in it. There are some naysayers. We've all participated in conversations that say a lot of people are coming to the table now that $65 billion is there. I am looking around at this group, at some of the names in the chat and some of the organizations and some of the panelists, and really, I think it goes without saying also to congratulate the folks here, because we've been at this as a state for a very long time. There have been a number of us that have been at this for decades, really focused around digital equity. The resources are fantastic, and you'll hear me say this word multiple times today. They're transformational, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. But I also think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this has been some building work that has been occurring over really, the past couple of decades. So for us at Cox, I can speak to our work around digital equity and the digital divide has been really the launch of Connect to Compete occurred over 10 years ago. We've been investing and partnering to build innovation centers in our communities. That really allowed us to mobilize very quickly during the pandemic. It was what made it possible for us to be able to give lifelines with our partners like the school districts and other community partners that you'll actually hear from today on the panel, for folks really to expedite to a solution. So some of that work, again, foundational, was what allowed us to be able to react very quickly. We're now able to take much of that and those investments and capitalize on those and scale them across the state. So that's a little bit of what we're doing now as we move into the next couple of years. So while there's still a lot to be done, again, I would emphasize that we recognize how transformational this period of time is for us. You've heard a little bit already from people talking about, for me, there's a formula, right? It's not a science, but there is definitely a formula. And from Cox's perspective, where we sit on the private sector side of this, we address digital equity, digital inclusion, and bridging the digital divide through two lenses, really. It's access and it's adoption. And you heard folks talk about access. So access is simply this. It's delivering the ultra high speed networks, multi-gig symmetrical fiber networks to the communities that need it all across, in this case, Arizona, but all across our networks and our enterprise. So over the last 10 years or so, we've been actively investing in this to the tune of about $11 billion. So we feel we're really well poised to be able to provide that access piece of this. We're upgrading networks, we're building new networks, and we're delivering services to the un and underserved. So when you think about the un and underserved households, kind of the update to share with you around what we've been focused on at Cox is a blend. It's a blend of both private network investments, so the Cox-built networks that are financed by Cox's private capital, and then the work that we're doing in the public-private partnerships, a little bit of what Ben talked about too. So we too, as many other internet service providers, are working in the public-private space. First, the Cox-built networks and what we're doing with our private capital. So just a couple of quick examples for you. Huachuca City, Southeast Sierra Vista, Eloy, Arizona City, and others. I saw a couple of examples popped into the chat. Thank you for those from our team. Those are all areas where we have been building with Cox's private capital dollars to be able to serve un and underserved communities right here in Arizona. And all of those communities are coming online this year. We were actually just in Huachuca City this past weekend with our team to celebrate about 850 households that were released in Huachuca City, which was a great success story there, and it really took a partnership with the community there too. So that's the private sector side of this. So the public-private partnership approach too that we're working on is Cox has been really fortunate to be awarded about $30 million right here just in Arizona for network expansion. So projects like Douglas, Pima County, 3 Points, and Summit View, Wickenburg, Yavapai, and others will all are in various stages of launching and will be launching here in the next couple of months. And that again is leveraging both public sector dollars and private sector dollars. We're also working with organizations, I know you're going to hear from Derek in a minute, like ASU, Pima County Wi-Fi Hotspots Project. So being able to leverage Cox resources in this case to be able to couple with public, federal and state dollars is really critical, because we all recognize while $65 billion and about $1 billion, I think I've heard Sandeep say 1.8 billion of that will flow to Arizona, it's still not enough. There's still going to be needs to be able to get to additional un and underserved households. So the way that the state can do that, and you'll see this in the 5-year broadband strategy, is to be able to promote and to support and to create an environment where private sector companies can not only do capital investments like what Cox is doing to reach these 28,000 households that I talked about, but also leveraging Cox's dollars as part of these public-private partnerships. So we're matching funds in all of these cases too, in the communities that I just spoke about. Douglas, Pima County, Wickenburg, Yavapai, all required matching funds from Cox to be able to do that. So on the access side, I think that's really critical. The other thing that we're doing that I mentioned is investing in our network. So as many of you are the beneficiary of, we have the largest gig network in the state, and we've really doubled down on that. And we're rolling out multi-gig speeds right here in Arizona with a significant number of our customers that will be able to see these multi-gig speeds by year end. We doubled our speeds. So really that takes our customers to a significant portion of our customers to about 0.5 gig or 500 megabyte per second service across Arizona, which has been, I think, very much a big piece of Cox's commitment here in Arizona. And then another piece of this too is it'll take multiple technologies. I think we all recognize that this is going to take a group of organizations, a group of partners, a group of providers, a group of technologies to really be able to get to all the un and underserved needs. And I love that exercise earlier of closing our eyes and imagining what this looks like, and what this looks like across the state of Arizona. And we've been really fortunate to be able to have a proof of concept in Arizona that allowed us to understand fixed wireless as an application for some of the very hard to reach rural households. Ben spoke a little bit about that and the cost to deliver to those households. They're technically qualified in many cases as extremely high cost to serve households, and they're exactly that. These are the households where it's very capital intensive to be able to reach this household or this area. So it'll take different resources, it'll take different technologies, it'll take different partnerships, it'll take different public sector and private sector partnerships and funds to be able to reach that. So we've been busy trialing that here in Arizona too. So this is all just to give you a sense of what we're doing in advance of BEAD and working closely with ACA and so many others around the state to be able to execute on this 5-year broadband strategy. So I think the other piece of this, as I mentioned, is not just the access piece, but adoption. And you've heard folks talk a little bit about that. I know we're going to talk a lot more about that today. And it's the piece I think people most often associate with digital equity, and not just the access piece, but like Erin said, it takes getting the network, but then it also takes being able to deliver the network to the household, to the person, to the human, and being able to connect them to what matters most. So in addition to building out the networks, like I described, we also are incredibly fortunate to have about 3,000 people employed here in Arizona. A lot of folks here around this virtual table with me too from the Cox team that have been doing the day-to-day work of helping to break down the obstacles, the known obstacles that we are aware of, that we've been focused around, that we've been working with Digital Equity Institute and so many others to be able to connect people. This is the team that's out there doing really its grassroots work. I think we've all acknowledged that over the last year or two. We've brought on customer service lines and people to be able to directly connect to our customers and our ACP customers. We've enrolled close to 200,000 people in the state of Arizona in ACP, which sounds really remarkable, and it really is an incredible number. But we know that 50% of eligible Cox households are still not connected to ACP. In fact, they, in recent surveys, show that they're not aware of ACP. So still, as we all know, a lot more work to be done on the adoption space, and specifically in ACP. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as kind of close things out. But other things that we're doing beyond ACP, because affordability is a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the entirety of the puzzle, as we all know. We're working with specific populations like I noticed somebody talking about older adults in the chat. We've been working with older adult populations and partnering with organizations all across the state. We've got some great examples in our other markets. Tech Oasis, for example, in our California market is very much focused. It's a hive essentially for older adults. So looking at being able to bring some of those learnings and best practices here into Arizona. Our other markets are working currently on healthcare payer partnerships where they're delivering ACP and programs like ACP directly to healthcare payer customers. So being able to promote and accelerate telemedicine support, and then expanding our public-private partnerships with municipalities around Wi-Fi networks and smart city capacity too. So, and then of course the work that we have been doing around innovation centers, I'll share with all of you, and please do reach out to us. I'll ask some of our team that's here from the public affairs maybe to drop their contact information, but we have innovation centers essentially in every one of our communities where we serve. And we've seen kind of the evolution and the transition of what these innovation centers look like and feel like. So they've moved from being focused on school-age children, and there's still a number of our innovation centers that have a school-age child focus with our great friends at the Boys and Girls Club, but also expanding that footprint to look at what are the needs of older adults, what are the needs of veterans, what are the needs of disabled individuals, all those unique populations that have very unique needs in terms of how we communicate to them with technology and how we work with them to be able to understand technology and what they even need from us in terms of customer service. So a lot of work and investment being done there. I spoke a little bit about our community Wi-Fi public-private partnerships, but this is really exciting too, to see our ability to work in our markets with our municipalities to connect people to what they need, where they need it, when they need it the most. And then of course, things like digital literacy programs, being able to provide tech coaching, device distribution has been a really critical component beyond. Now we move beyond families and school-age children, but being able to do device distribution for older age population, for example, too. So I talked a little bit about this being so grassroots. I would share with you over the last year or two, I think that has been a really critical piece for our team at Cox to be able to get out and talk to the communities. I know, we were, again, using the Huachuca example. It was really cool to see people coming out from the community and despite us having 3,000 employees in Arizona, people were coming and asking for our employees by name because they created a connection with these folks that have been working with them and supporting them. And that matters most as we start to think about digital equity. It's really about being in the communities and understanding our communities, and having that advantage of being here, living here, working here, playing here. I think that has been definitely a differentiator for us at Cox. So we'll continue to do that work, obviously, and investments into the future and beyond. But I think a few things just briefly I'll highlight for you as we think about what do we want to be focused on going forward. Certainly we've got BEAD rolling out, and I think Ben spoke a bit about this. You'll probably hear about this from some of the other ISPs. The $1+ billion that will be dispersed throughout Arizona here in the very near future. We've talked about it being almost a crunch or a crush, if you will, of funds. It's going to feel very fast. It's going to feel very heavy for our municipalities, for our ISPs, things like permitting, things like workforce, things like supply chain. These are all considerations that we on the private sector side are considering and proactively trying to address, and working with our municipal partners and other organizations as well, so that we are best positioned to be able to move very quickly when these dollars are dispersed, and be able to deliver these networks as quickly as possible to the communities that need it most. We've heard a little bit about ACP, of course. Our understanding is that the funds may, based on the current kind of run rate, the funds have the potential to expire or run out by the spring of 2024. So I know a whole host of great work from so many partners on this call is being focused around how do we support and advocate for the reauthorization of ACP. I know that'll come as part of the other conversation, so I won't dwell on that too much here, but I would definitely call it out as a watch area. Companies like Cox are certainly watching for it, but we're also making sure we have plans in place to be able to address what comes next if those funds aren't reauthorized, although we're hearing good pieces of this. I mentioned transformative a couple of times for good reason. These are transformative dollars. Some of you have heard me say this. This is basically like the railroad dollars and highway dollars being pumped into our economies and into our state. We're getting to be participants in this. It also puts a great deal of trust on all of us to do the right thing with these funds, and to make sure that the public-private partnerships are in place, that we're focused on and underserved populations first and foremost, and that we're leveraging these investments to the highest and best use possible. I think those are probably the key pieces that I would just kind of call out for all of us to continue to pay attention to. And I would just very much like to thank Erin and the Digital Equity Institute, the work at ASU, and so many others on this call, ACA and others, and being able to help organize all of this well ahead of the 2024 time period too. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Now moving on to Derek Masseth from Sun Corridor Network. Derek, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what Sun Corridor Network has been up to?
All right, happy to, and I'll try to gain us some time back here if I can. So, good morning, Derek Masseth. I'm the executive director of Sun Corridor Network. I'm a male of Western European descent, long brown hair that I wear in a ponytail, and today I'm wearing a gray polo shirt with our logo on it. And my background is a photo of Arizona's Lake Pleasant with our logo overlaid on that, because I'm coming to you today from my car, and the lake is certainly substantially more interesting than the back seat of my car. So briefly, Sun Corridor Network is, and those of you that know me know that I'm in my car a lot because I drive all over the state, working with folks all over the state. So Sun Corridor Network is Arizona's research and education network. So we were founded by and continue to be governed by the 3 state universities: Arizona State University, Northern Arizona University, and the University of Arizona. And for many years, our focus was on meeting the complex and high demand broadband needs of the state's university system and other higher eds and K-12s here in the state. As COVID hit and students were home, teachers were home, whether they were kindergartners or postdocs or faculty or kindergarten teachers, they were all at home trying to make schoolwork, trying to make education happen. And our focus, as you might imagine, quickly shifted to trying to figure out how we can continue the education mission while our brick and mortar schools were largely vacant. Fast forward to today, we're thrilled to be partnered with, frankly, everybody that's already spoken today. Of particular note, Lev and Erin and Dom have already spoken at a little bit about our grant that we're working on together in Maricopa County, where ASU, Sun Corridor Network, and the Digital Equity Institute have come together to help Maricopa County bridge the digital divide fundamentally. And frankly, it starts with mapping. We've spent a lot of time and energy on really understanding the problem at a very detailed level. As Erin notes, you can't come into a community trying to solve the problem until you understand it. And then when you get there, you got to focus on learning and understanding the problem through the lens of those communities and the anchors that exist in there. And those anchors, those are our connectivity focus here at Sun Corridor Network. And what we're doing then in the connectivity space, not just in Maricopa County, but in other places here in the state as well, as we leverage high-speed, low latency connectivity to those anchors, and then through that anchor get connectivity into the community, whether it's wireless or wired or licensed wireless, Wi-Fi. We just pick the right solution for the community in question. And again, after we've spent some time getting to know them and understanding their needs and understanding the challenges they're in. So happy to, Stephanie and Ben hit nails on heads over and over and over again, right? There's not enough money. $993 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but it's not enough, not for Arizona's challenges. And so the way that we're going to make the most progress there is to all band together. I love the fact that so many people on this call I consider friends through this work and partners and allies in getting connectivity and the wraparound, the hug of digital equity services that come in terms of skilling and devices and any level of assistance you need to leverage and succeed in a digital society. Can't say enough good things about our last mile partners in Cox and Triad. They live up to what they're saying today. I know WECOM is doing wonderful work in Northern Arizona. We look forward to working with them when the project is right. And our public housing officials have proven to be incredibly valuable partners as we seek to bring connectivity to communities in need. So that's a high level of what we're up to. Again, we're based in the university system, focusing on community anchor connectivity and leveraging that community anchor to understand the community and extend that hug. Stephanie, I can't, that's Erin's. I'm borrowing that phrase from Erin, but I think she coined it, but I use it all the time because I love the sentiment. So again, I appreciate the time today. Happy to take follow-up offline anyway, look forward to working with all of you as we embark on this journey together.
Thank you so much, Derek. Moving on to Matt. Matt from Verizon is with us. Thank you so much, Matt, for making time for us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you could visually describe yourself, and then tell us what Verizon has been up to.
Sure. My name is Matt Clark. I'm the Government Relations Manager for Verizon in Arizona, New Mexico, and El Paso, Texas. I am Caucasian and am wearing a blue collared button-up shirt. According to my wife, I'm moderately attractive and am average in just about every other way. So thank you all for having me. One of the things I really enjoy about this presentation is it gives us all a chance to kind of talk about what we're doing and how we're working collaboratively, but also individually to make sure that we're connecting the entire state of Arizona. And I always appreciate Stephanie and Erin's invitation to speak about this. So just to kind of talk a little bit about what Verizon is doing in the state over the past year or so, I think all of us can agree that the first step in making sure that people have access is to build out the infrastructure and connectivity, is ensuring that the infrastructure is there to provide the ability for people to connect. So for the past year, Verizon has continued its multi-million-dollar build out throughout the state of Arizona. That includes bringing in both fiber and wireless infrastructure throughout the state. We have recently acquired additional spectrum that we are looking to deploy, especially most of the rural parts of the state. We're looking to continue to build our relationships with all members of the state and the community. That includes our friends on the tribal communities and whatnot, to ensure that access is not only available to those that live in our urban cores, but in our rural and tribal communities as well. Secondarily, some of the things that we're doing in working with the federal government is we are absolutely 100% partners with the Affordable Connectivity Program. We enthusiastically support what the administration and Congress have done. We look forward to them extending it and ensuring that the funding is there to provide connectivity to those that need it. I'm assuming that everybody on the call knows what the Affordable Connectivity Program is, but just to reiterate, it's a $30 credit up to $75 credit for tribal members that allows you access to either broadband at home, cellular plans, different opportunities like that. It's one of the things that Verizon is doing through our fixed wireless access. So that's our broadband through cellular connectivity and through our cell phone plans throughout the state and the United States. Additionally, we look to build out our community partner programs. One of the things that we continue to do is invest in our Verizon Innovative Learning Schools. We have dozens of those throughout the state, and what that provides is devices, connectivity, and data, and training for up to 2 years. So what we will do is we will pick schools that are in Title I schools that are in different parts of the state. We will come in and train the teachers about the devices that they're going to hand out, about the data that they have, about some of the opportunities that are there. And then we will have a device launch day where middle schoolers will get devices and connectivity at the school, and will be, most often, is their first introduction to this type of technology. As I mentioned, we have dozens of schools throughout Arizona, in both southern and central Arizona. We are looking to expand up north as we continue to expand this program and bring connectivity to all. And then finally, I just want to talk about how we're an active partner with both the Digital Equity Institute, Sun Corridor Network, and others as the state of Arizona looks to allocate the federal funding to connect broadband throughout the state. We appreciate, again, the belief in collaborating and putting together an all-in type solution as opposed to just one type of problem-solving effort. So we continue to work with those in the state, with all of our partners in the industry, to make sure that everybody has access to the internet and to broadband. I think one of the things over the past few years that we have really recognized is that if you do not have connectivity, and that means workable, affordable, and educational type access, then you do not get to participate in society as we know it. And we continue to love to work with our partners in the industry and through the nonprofit sector, the educational sector, and others, to ensure that the state has these types of resources available to everyone, not just a select few. So again, I appreciate the time. We really look forward to being partners with everyone on the call. And I'm happy to do any follow-up questions offline as well. And thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thanks for your patience. We appreciate it. We're going to move quickly over to ACP program discussions and talking about digital navigators. So we're going to start by asking everyone to please put in the chat which ACP and digital navigator programs you think we should be prioritizing in 2024. So if you could just put your thoughts in the chat and share them there, as well as any reference links that you have, that would be fantastic. So first up, we have Alexa. Alexa Tarvid is the Digital Navigator Supervisor at Arizona State University. And we welcome Alexa to the stage. Welcome, Alexa.
Hello. Thank you, everyone. My name is Alexa Tarvid. I am very pale. I have short brown hair and I'm wearing glasses and a gray sweater. My background is a drawing of a comfy, cozy living room, whatever you'd like to imagine. I support the Digital Equity Institute Digital Navigators at Arizona State University, and that's the amazing team that you see on this slide. But what do digital navigators like ours actually do? Slide, please. Well, we serve community members. If you ask the Phoenix ACP navigators I worked with recently, they would describe them as being non-judgmental guides that create a safe space to make mistakes and to learn. I liked that, so I'm borrowing it. In that safe space, digital navigators help community members get online. Right now, that has a lot to do with helping people sign up for the Affordable Connectivity Program, which you'll hear more about soon, and finding the right type of internet for them. The internet doesn't mean much if you don't have a device to access it on, so we can help with that too. And understanding how to use that device safely is critical. Then once they are connected on a device and know what to avoid, we can work with them to learn new digital skills and access life-changing resources like telehealth, online job markets, and skills certifications. Our team has the benefit of doing this work from the Experience Center at Arizona State University, which is the first point of contact for ASU staff and students, which gives us access to pre-existing technological infrastructure, on-call translation services, 24/7 accessibility, and of course, their guidance of their amazing leadership. Slide, please. Oh, next slide. Thank you. Now, digital navigator teams come in all shapes and sizes and focuses. So I'll be using my team as an example. Although they do have specialties, I do want to clarify that they all serve as digital navigators first and utilize their experience to serve the team in more complex situations. We have 4 team members who focus on the IT part. That's tech support, troubleshooting, tech recommendations, and if someone's having an issue with their internet service provider. Then we have our skills navigator, who brings in the teaching and tutoring experience. She focuses on lesson planning, one-on-one tutoring, in-person classes, and virtual classes. And last but certainly not least, our health navigators. They focus on social resources like finding shelter or food or helping with workforce management, as well as health resources, health portals, and health devices and apps. Digital navigators recognize that people resist technology for many different deep-rooted reasons, and it takes trust and time to help people overcome these barriers, grow their confidence, and understand technology as a tool to improve their life and fight for their dreams. No matter their focus, a digital navigator's primary goal is to meet the community where they are and create a safe space where community members can make mistakes and learn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexa. We're going to welcome up to the stage Lyle. Lyle, how are you? Good to see you.
Aloha Awina La, a warm and pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Lyle Ishida. I serve as chief of the FCC's Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division. I am an Asian male with graying hair and a smile and a red Hawaiian aloha shirt on. I opened with the language of the state of my birth. Because my mind right now is actually on consumers who are just really devastated by the Maui wildfire, where I had a team there registering people for ACP over the last couple of weeks. And so a quick 10-second commercial for the Maui Strong Fund, which is a subsidiary of the Hawaii Community Association. That is one of those safe guys. The Maui Strong Fund is a safe place to donate. So I want to take a second now to talk about the FCC, its role in ACP, what we've been doing, as well as other late breaking news to discuss that on the policy side, we hope will help build a world where digital equity is not just a goal, but is a reality. So within ACP, our team continues to work with partners, including many here in Alaska, many whose names I see now and whose faces I see now, and I smile because of our great experiences together. Elena, just saying. So our work together has been to build coalitions and to build the community of folks who can communicate ACP to those folks within their circles. We continue to do that at a nationwide level. There's 21 million households enrolled right now, and we're really happy with the progress we've made, but understand there's more progress to be done. And so our team, and this might be for Arizonans, sort of old news, we're available to do train the trainer sessions via Zoom to help folks understand how to talk to people about it. We have an outreach toolkit, which our print shop is working 24/7 to throw out information to, as well as we have information in accessible formats, large print.
She was going to send out an email. Oh, did she send an email? Oh, I didn't get it.
So
I'm sorry, Lyle.
Okay.
No worries. So hold on just a second. I see. So anyway, so we have that on the future of ACP. A good way for a staffer to get in trouble at FCC is to guess what Congress is going to do. So I like my job. I enjoy paying my mortgage. So you're not going to have Lyle tell you about the future of ACP, with the exception of this, right? Well, my guidance from my superiors has been to keep going, to continue to press forward, continue to make partners, to make events happen. And so we are understanding that that's our role and Congress's role. Nobody elected me is to vote for appropriations, and so my team is going to continue going forward until we're told not to. So anyway, ACP continues to be a focus for our team. My commercial is this, right? If anybody needs stuff on ACP printed in any of one of 12 different languages or in any accessible formats, ping me. Stephanie has my email address, and we'll do it for free. Your federal government is doing stuff for free to you. And so just let us know what we can do. Separately, we really welcome any opportunity to go hyper local, to talk about digital navigators and to talk about that space. You know, our experience has been that the more local you got, the greeter at the church, not even the church pastor, the coach of the JV soccer team for the Pearl City High School girls soccer team, these sorts of folks, that level of folks, we're happy to train the trainer. We talk in plain language. And so I want to offer that as free by request. Give us a couple of weeks to schedule them out, and we'll do that as well. ACP is one of the primary tools that the FCC is using to help build, digital equity in a world where there is digital equity. I want to talk about a couple of other things too and do a little commercial. So the FCC also has a task force to prevent digital discrimination. We are in the midst of doing nationwide listening sessions. I'm leaving tomorrow for Topeka, Kansas for the next one. I want to make people aware of that. FCC.gov/task force prevent digital discrimination. So that's a committee led by senior managers here at the FCC. And we really want to take a look at barriers that keep people from accessing effectively and easily and affordably the broadband and what broadband brings. I had heard my fellow presenter here from Verizon mention that it's not just about the signal, and it really is not. This is not about broadband, right? It's about healthcare. It's about education. And so we are not that far off from COVID and all of the social displacement that happened from it to have lost the bubble on understanding the importance of broadband. Finally, one last piece of information. On October 19th, the FCC will hold its next open meeting, the October open meeting. We hold open meetings primarily for the chairwoman and commissioners to discuss potential policy advances. So one of the things that the chairwoman, Rosenworcel, announced on last Tuesday was that we would be teeing up a notice of proposed rulemaking on open internet, or net neutrality, as we call it. So want to put in a plug for that. The open meetings are webcast free on fcc.gov/live. There is a public draft version of the notice of proposed rulemaking for net neutrality. They're posted on fcc.gov/events. So please go there. And looking at my timer, my mentor at Fort Shafter, Hawaii, once told me, Lyle, the mind can only absorb what the posterior can endure. And so with the late Mick Workman in mind right now, I want to thank you for the opportunity to chat with you. Hit me up for any questions you might have offline. I'd be happy to respond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lyle. Megan, thank you for joining us. If you could please tell us a little bit about yourself and what the Arizona State Library folks have been up to.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm Megan Hammond. I'm the Library Development Administrator at the Arizona State Library Archives and Public Records. I am of Western European descent with long brown hair, blue eyes, and reading glasses, wearing a black dress, and I am coming to you from my office in the basement of the historic Arizona State Capitol. I'm going to talk to you about some of the digital inclusion work that we've been doing at the State Library and touch briefly on E-Rate, the Digital Arizona Library, LSTA subgrants to libraries, telehealth services, which I believe you'll be hearing more about from Janet later on. And then I'll provide a quick introduction to the Connect Arizona project before handing it off to Brandon Knight, who will cover those services in more detail. First, if we talk about E-Rate, at the State Library, Mala Murali Haran is the E-Rate administrator. I'm sure many of you know her from various different meetings we have. She is, in addition to representing Arizona libraries on a national level in various committees related to broadband development and expansion, Mala also provides consultation, training, and resources for libraries seeking reimbursement and discounts for telecommunications tools. The process for applying for E-Rate can be quite challenging, especially for the smaller library systems around the state. So the services Mala provides are very much in demand. So the Digital Arizona Library refers to a number of electronic resources provided by the State Library for free public access. This includes a statewide database package, which can be accessed through local public libraries or on the State Library website. The databases provide peer-reviewed scholarly works, trusted digital resources and publications, as well as resources for business owners, DIY mechanics, test and career prep resources. It's also home to the Arizona Memory Project, which contains digital humanities collections contributed by more than 90 partners across the state, as well as more than 500,000 pages of Arizona historical newspapers, which have been digitized through a series of grants from the National Endowment for Humanities and the Library of Congress. So most of the state library resources and projects are supported with annual federal grant funds provided by the Institute of Museum and Library Services through the Library Services and Technology Act. So that's the LSTA that I'm referencing right there. A portion of that funding is then subgranted to Arizona libraries each year to support projects, technology needs, and services that do not fall under their regular library operations. This year, funds were awarded to libraries to provide Wi-Fi hotspot lending programs, XR VR devices, makerspaces and computer labs, as well as a local history digitization project that involved the purchase of scanners and other tech to support the project. So supporting telehealth services is a relatively new endeavor for us. Over the past couple of years, we've provided support to several libraries to purchase kits that contain digital health devices to use for remote healthcare appointments. Janet will be speaking more about the telehealth projects we've partnered on a little bit later, so I won't steal her thunder. But over the next year, we're hoping to expand the project to more libraries around the state. And libraries are uniquely capable of supporting projects like these because they usually already have publicly accessible private spaces like meeting rooms or privacy on demand structures, and they have strong, secure internet connections. And then we have Connect Arizona. So the last project I'm going to touch on is both a website resource and an access point to a digital navigator service. Alexa already talked about the digital navigators, and Brandon will go into more detail about Connect Arizona services specifically, but I'm going to highlight a couple of resources on the website that you might find helpful. So Connect Arizona started very early in the pandemic in the summer of 2020, and the free Wi-Fi map was one of the first projects to connect people to publicly available free internet access across the state. So on this map, in addition to schools and libraries, you'll find free public Wi-Fi is available at a host of other organizations around the state, including retail stores, fast food restaurants, lots of different organizations. And then the Arizona Digital Inclusion Directory is a searchable inventory of tech training classes, public computers, and digital inclusion partners. Both the Wi-Fi map and this directory, the public can submit new resources or updates through the website, so the list is not exhaustive, but it does illustrate the diversity of organizations and partners who are doing the work necessary to promote digital equity. Finally, this concludes my little presentation. I just want to say that in addition to the services and resources I highlighted today, the State Library is looking very closely at the recent explosion of AI resources and tools and their implications on the workforce, both in libraries and in general, not to mention the effect it will have on information literacy and security. And with that, I'm going to hand off the virtual stage to Brandon Knight, who's the program manager for Connect Arizona. Thank you so much.
So hi, everyone. My name is Brandon Knight. I'm project manager with Connect Arizona. We're a digital navigator program with the Arizona State Library, like Megan mentioned earlier. We are a completely remote service available for Arizonans statewide via call, text, email, and video chat. And our team currently consists of 7 navigators, including 2 bilingual Spanish speakers. We recently expanded our hours to include evenings and weekends and are available Mondays through Fridays, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Connect Arizona has been in operation since July 2020. We've currently helped over 1,600 Arizonans with 4,300 plus tech tutoring and help sessions. This has included regular tech tutoring, basic to intermediate, and also help with tech troubleshooting, ACP and lifeline information and remote assistance, internet provider and device research, and tech skills assessment. Our average session with clients fluctuates between 20 and 30 minutes, and we allow up to 2 hours a week per each client for one-on-one sessions. We find that repeat sessions especially work best for learning and retention with tech. They also help build confidence in the learner, which is a key area of focus for us. We love encouraging tech learners, especially beginners, and can help coach them through any learning curves that they might have. And we really try to meet each learner where they're at with comfort, pace, and both short and long-term goals they have for learning technology. This past year so far, we've helped 352 individual clients over almost 1,200 client sessions, all remotely. Our program coordinator, Erin Larandos, is looking at expanding our services to in-person as well as remote, most likely at libraries. I don't have many details on that at the moment, but that, in addition to more outreach, will definitely be on our agenda for 2024. And I wanted to share a client story with you. One of my personal favorite clients, Doris, was 92 years old when she gave us this feedback. She's now 94 and is still very active in her learning with technology. When I first met Doris, working in person with her at the library, she was really wanting to learn more about her iPhone and iPad to stay in touch with family, make doctor's appointments, and set up an Etsy shop. But she was apprehensive. She wasn't sure where to start and was concerned learning on her own. There's really so much information out there and so many privacy and safety concerns. But through repeat sessions with our navigators, getting warm and friendly help, we've been able to get Doris quality information, work one-on-one at her pace, and build up her confidence and really empower her learning. Doris now runs an Etsy shop with her family and uses both her iPad and iPhone regularly for communication and fun. And it's been a real joy sharing that learning experience with her. Okay, and finally, I wanted to mention another one of our resources real quick. Connect Arizona does have a subscription to North Star Digital Literacy available on our website. Through North Star, students can sign up on their own with help with help from one of our navigators. And through North Star, they can get practice and training get practice with training modules, quizzes, and if the client is interested, formal proctoring and certification in basic areas of technology. To date, we've had 94 assessments taken and have used North Star as a supplemental resource to our normal tech tutoring. And we'll be looking to incorporate it more into our outreach heading into 2024. All right, that's all I had. Thank you again so much, and keep up the amazing work in digital inclusion.
Thank you so much, Brandon. We appreciate you being here. Next, we're going to move on to our community engagement section. So we're going to hear from our friends at Common Sense Media, Girls and Boys Club, Chicanos por la Causa, Salrita Food Bank, and Tinkertopia. So what do you think the most important community engagement projects are that we should prioritize in 2024? So please add that to the chat. And if you have any relevant links, feel free to share them in there.
So my name is Elena Lowery, and I'm with Common Sense Media, but I'm the Arizona Regional Director. We're a national organization, but I'm here in Arizona. I wanted to give you my visual description. So I have auburn hair. I'm of Eastern European descent. I'm female. My pronouns are she, her. I'm wearing glasses and a white puffy sleeve top. If anybody remembers the Seinfeld episode with the white puffy sleeve shirt, you should be giggling right now. I'm in my home office here in Glendale with my 3-year-old yellow lab under my desk at my feet. So Common Sense Media, for those of you that are familiar with us for our ratings and reviews of all media for kids, you may wonder why we are involved in digital equity, digital inclusion, and all of the things, right? So this is what we stand for, not just media choice, but access to technology and tools to use it for primarily kids, families, schools, but for the whole community. We have a free digital literacy program through schools that is available, our digital citizenship lessons for kindergarten through 12th grade. They provide, information and lessons around habits and skills that give young people agency to really take charge of their own digital lives and to help them to succeed online and in life. And of course, our future is, are the kids. So this is really our focus is, but we also, our advocacy work around tech accountability and a healthy childhood includes public and private sector reforms to safeguard things like privacy and to minimize harm. We offer advice and research to support youth mental health and to build awareness on what tech's effects are on well-being. But right now in Arizona, our focus has been on digital equity, the ACP, and access and affordability. Next slide, please. So I am here to talk about partnerships, and we have a lot of them here in Arizona. I'm so happy to see just about all of them, it seems like, on the call today. We have a partnership with the city of Phoenix. I don't need to read through all of these. Some of you know who you are. Those of you who don't partner with Common Sense, we would love to talk to you about ways that we can pull together and do this work. It was interesting because I wasn't sure part of what we do Stephanie wanted me to talk about, because I could touch so many different areas that we're involved in. But what's really the most important, I think, to the work that we're doing, and this has been said by Erin, it's been said by so many people, are the partnerships and the people on the ground doing the work. And these are just a few that we have both here in Arizona. Shout out to Chicanos por la Causa, to Cox, AC Strut. We also work with national organizations like Education Superhighway, NDIA, and the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. And those partnerships also benefit the work that we're doing in Arizona. Next slide, Stephanie. So just to give you an idea of how we work with with anchor institutions, we do a lot of our work through elementary and high schools, largely because of the initial work that we started doing in Arizona with our digital citizenship curriculum. So mostly what we're doing is we are partnering with, right now we are partnering with elementary schools and high schools to provide ACP sign-up events, primarily in the Phoenix area, but obviously in the underserved and unserved areas. And we are also providing, as we shift to the need for also having a safe experience online, digital inclusion materials, literacy resources, how to have that health experience online. And all of this is done through schools, through our community partners, and then, you know, hopefully with our family engagement work that we do, it is all brought home. And so as you can see, it really is a whole community effort. And so with our anchor institutions, and I included coalition members on this list of anchor institution because so many of them are part of an anchor institution. Shout out to Janet Major and some of the other folks who have used our materials and have helped us get the word out, not just about ACP, but also about digital literacy. Next slide. So these are a few of our partners, the school partnerships that we have. And when we talk about something like the Affordable Connectivity Program, it's really important to remember that those schools and those districts that are free and reduced lunch or community eligible, they are automatically eligible for the Affordable Connectivity Program. And not only do parents and caregivers not necessarily know this, but in some cases we have found that school administrators don't know this as well. So we are trying to get the word out. We are doing sign-up events at schools, at parent-teacher conferences, school resource fairs, et cetera, et cetera. And we have 3 actually scheduled for this week because it's Digital Inclusion Week, and it seemed to make sense that this would be a good time to do it. So we also have some additional partners with Arizona PBS and Read on Avondale. I listed the Commerce Authority as one of our partners because we love the broadband office and we love providing them with materials and working with them as they delve into this quite enormous job with the planning for the state. Next slide. So I mentioned our ACP outreach, and everybody has already talked about this. You know, awareness of the program is important. Getting people to enroll is super important. And then obviously the adoption piece. And so that's what we're out there doing. We're out there, you know, as a trusted source. We are working with all of those partners, as you saw. We are providing information. We are providing navigators to, and thank you, Alexa, for training our City of Phoenix navigators. We also have a navigator, and they will be helping us at these school events, at job centers throughout the City of Phoenix. But then it's also important, again, as Candace mentioned and some of the other folks, we really need to explain why it's, you know, so important and such a benefit for people to be able to navigate the internet and feel confident and feel safe and have a healthy experience online. So we are doing all of that through a campaign that we will be launching digitally this week, and then we'll be working with DEI on the campaign that Erin mentioned as we go forward, and the hives are set up. So what you see on the right was one of our original ads for the pilot program that we did last year. It was a very successful ACP enrollment and awareness program that we did, and this was just one of the images that we used, but we advertised around Phoenix and Maricopa County. We had the ASU Experience Center. We had their services as navigators, and we promoted the hotline so that people who perhaps weren't able to do an in-person sign up for ACP could get all the help they needed through the wonderful services at the Experience Center through the Digital Equity Institute. Next slide. These are just some of our digital literacy tools that are available to all of our partners. Anybody who's interested, I don't know if the slide decks are going to be shared out, but these are all linked. And if they're not, I'll put my information in the chat, and you're welcome to use these materials in whatever you're doing, however you're supporting your communities. So here's all my information. And like I said, we do focus on the family and students as well as educators. So if you are an educator, if you know of a group that you think could benefit from using our resources, just reach out to me and I will get those over to you as soon as possible.
Thank you, Elena. We appreciate having you here. Next up, we have Tim Emory from Boys and Girls Club of the Valley.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Emory. I am a white Caucasian male with brown hair, and because of the great digital equity that we have at Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley where I work, I'm coming to you live from my 11-year-old daughter's room. So that's my background. I am the Vice President of Resource Development with Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley. We have 31 clubs throughout the Valley and one in Yuma. As we look to grow more and more and help as many kids as we possibly can. Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley serves about 12,000 youth and their families, where we are helping kids who need it the most make sure they have a place to go after school, be safe. We provide a hot meal and do all the great Boys and Girls Club programming that a lot of people know of. So I am here today to talk about digital inclusion and our partners with Cox. We are very lucky to have a relationship with Cox. In a lot of our clubs, we've been working together for well over 20 years. And really the goal of Cox working with the clubs is to make sure that our kids have as much of the latest and greatest in technology for STEM and STEAM, really. And it's been an evolving process over all those years. We currently have nearly 14 Cox Innovation Labs in clubs all the way out into the East Valley, through the middle of town and the west part of the valley where we are. These labs have been really evolving lately into an explosion of what the kids are able to do. So if you went and looked at a Cox Innovation Lab 5 years ago, you'd see desktop computers, maybe some type of Lego robotics or something like that, but it's really just about connecting them so they could get on a computer. So now as we move forward, desktops are going away. So we're really looking to make sure that they have Chromebooks, because the idea is to meet kids where they are. It's really a maker space, which is a general term, but let them learn where they are most comfortable. So what we figured out about 6 months ago when we debuted our most recent Cox Innovation Lab, which is our Rosenzweig branch near Camelback and I-17, is it's just, as we know, technology never stops and it always evolves. But one of the great benefits of that is it's now becoming more affordable, as tends to happen. But we went out with the mindset of finding as much technology as we can, knowing what we have in some labs, but getting as much of that into this certain lab. So the branch director there went and found a 3D printer that is affordable. He put in AR. He put in 3D products like these little pens where they can then go and make different art with that. But one of the coolest things that he did is he found a product which is a DJ control set, and it plugs into an iPad, and it's a little turntables, and they have their Cox headphones on, and so the kids get to go there and learn from a parent who happens to be a DJ. And this was exactly what you want in a situation like this. Bring in somebody who has 25 years plus, he still is currently a DJ Dimension, and have him teach his passion to the kids, and they just love it. But really the most exciting outcome that I could say from this is, since this Cox Innovation Lab opened up at Rosie, the kids coming into the club, and particularly that room, has gone up 30%. So it's really a, if you build it, they will come type situation. So we had this arrow in our quiver, if you would say, as we went to our Diamondbacks branch, our Arizona Diamondbacks branch, and we opened 2 rooms. And we were able, through a grant from Cox and a matching grant from the Diamondbacks, affect 2 rooms, one in our kid side, and we take kids from kindergarten all the way up through high school, but they at 13, they move over to the teen side. So everything we did at Rosie, we went through with Cox and the Diamondbacks, and they both said, do what we have here at Rosie at DBAX. So that's what we did. 3D printer, VR, Xboxes, Switches, everything. Then we went to the teen side, and we have this incredible situation there where Kelvin Beacham from the Arizona Cardinals donated a flight simulator from Microsoft. We also put a heat press in there and a Cricut. And a Cricut is where you create vinyl logos, and then they can take the heat press and put logos on the side of a mug or a hat and a shirt. Maybe they can sell them and raise money. And then in the back portion of it, because we worked with our club and we know what is interesting to the kids, we put mirrors back there and also a portable speaker, and so it can be a dance studio. So we happen to know at that DBAX branch that kids love dancing. They have hip hop. They can do anything they want to do. And when we kicked off the grand opening for these kids in the teen side, they didn't stop dancing for about an hour and a half and 2 hours. And it was really just fantastic. And so it's, again, we use that maker space, meet them where they are. We put it, the room is in 3 different segments, so they can do whatever they want. And the goal is for them to then evolve with that over the years. In front of that Arizona Diamondbacks club, there's a barbershop. So maybe someday we put a barber chair in there, and those teens can learn how to cut hair. And that's part of our workforce development. So, really, as we go, we have 2 more coming. We have one at our Warner and Shirley Gable branch in South Phoenix. We have another one at our Holmes family branch, also in South Phoenix. And now that our staff is seeing what the other clubs are doing, they're getting really creative in their STEM and STEAM as we move forward. So I know at Holmes, they're working on having, and it's Halloween, as you would see my daughter's room here, in full effect, but they're going to have a skeleton so they can teach anatomy. They're going to have microscopes so they can learn more. A lot of these things that unfortunately aren't in schools as much, and that's what the Boys and Girls Club tries to do. We add those services. So we have art rooms, and we have gyms, and we have all these things. As fortunately, we're able to support about 99% Title I schools is where we are. So our club is evolving with this and getting smarter on how they can give kids access to digital inclusion, or old school, learning what bones are on an anatomy skeleton, but falling right under there in STEAM. Microscopes, and of course we still have the gaming because the kids want to do it and we want them to be there, but that's also part of what we do with a new gaming program that we're doing, e-gaming. So that's about it for what we're doing. It's just not possible without our friends from Cox. They're amazing. We work with them on a year-round basis. I talk to them all the time, and we couldn't be more proud about how much they step up and help the kids. Again, the kids that really need them most have the ability to go in and plug in and do whatever they can in learning about potential, how they can go to work in a STEM field.
Nubia Estrada from Chicanos por la Causa.
Hey, Stephanie, yes, good morning. Well, almost good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nubia Estrada. I'm the ACP administrator here at Chicanos por la Causa. I had the wonderful opportunity to join the ACP team in July. And I just want to share a little bit, just before getting into what we're doing and what our plans are, just a little bit of background of how it got started. And this initiative got started during the pandemic, when our senior VP, Robert Alvarado, saw the need in the community. I think, as we can all agree, internet's no longer a luxury, but a necessity. In so many of our homes, our kiddos, our seniors are definitely, it's a way to connect and to get access to resources. In that sense, CPLC had devices that were refurbished, that were still in good shape to give out. So there was a connection there where, hey, let's do enrollments for ACP, and let's give out devices at the same time to really get that, to remove that barrier from so many homes. And then fast forward to 2022, there was the opportunity to write for the ACP grant from the FCC, and CPLC was awarded in April or June of 2023. And so we got things going in July, and we've been very fortunate to be out in the community, not only doing outreach and really just sharing what ACP is and how our community can benefit. And like previously mentioned, different ways to become eligible is through those free and reduced school lunches. Also, if they're receiving government assistance or some sort of benefit, like, for example, WIC, for those families with younger kiddos, if they have older children and they receive a Pell Grant, that's one way that they can qualify through a dependent. So I think what's pretty neat about ACP is that there's multiple ways of becoming eligible. If income is not one of those, then there's multiple ways, and those signing up don't have to be a U.S. citizen or have to have a social security number. And so as of July, we've been in the states of Nevada and New Mexico recently. We're fortunate enough to not only do outreach and enrollments here in Arizona, and not just Maricopa, but counties like Coconino, and Yuma County. There's a list, which I won't mention all of them. We've also been to Clark County in Nevada, and then we still funded to go to Washoe, the county of Washoe in Nevada. And we were recently in Mora County, New Mexico, this past weekend for their fall event, and we're scheduled to go through to different counties in New Mexico. We've done enrollments. I think our primary goal is to educate the community on what ACP is and how they can take advantage of it, do the enrollments, but also create a connection between the community and the ISP, because so many of them haven't even heard of ACP. So we're really targeting that outreach and that education portion. And we've been lucky enough to receive a small grant to provide classes to the community on, for example, internet and email basics, cybersecurity, internet security, or internet basics, and trying to connect that with ACP enrollments as well, and giving out a few devices when available. So that's how we're trying to do a few things at once. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and everybody for your time. Again, I will put my information in the chat if you want to connect or have any questions. I would be more than happy to connect with you.
We are going to add Carlos to the stage. Carlos, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. My name is Carlos Valles. I'm the Executive Director of the Sahuarita Food Bank and Community Resource Center. We're about 15 minutes south of Tucson, in a semi-urban area, but we do serve a lot of rural communities here in Southern Arizona. A little background on me. I'm originally from Texas. I'm of Mexican descent, and I'm also a veteran. So Sahuarita Food Bank originally started just as a Sahuarita Food Bank in 2009, but Food is just, it's one of the symptoms of many other issues. And so about 2015, 2016, we kind of started brainstorming on what we could do as an organization. And so the Community Resource Center was born out of working collaboratively through our food bank. So the three pillars are workforce development, health and education, and also family support. So this is our new facility that was just constructed last year. Next slide, please. So the purpose of, I don't want to talk so much about the food bank because I think everyone has an understanding what the food bank does. So our tech hub, we strongly believe in digital equity. We have, just a host of different services with a lot of wonderful partners. And you'll see one partner right there in the bottom picture. I put a lot of pictures just because I'm very visual. So we brought in, through Cox, we brought in high-speed internet fiber that was not available in the area. So that was incredible because we have a lot of dynamic programs. Also introduction to computers. If you see the picture up in the top right, we're teaching seniors how to not be scammed. I mean, that's basically what's happening there. And so Microsoft Office classes, I'll share a story. We had a food bank client that was working for a local pecan grower. She was laid off along with 140 other people. Took a lot of our workforce development programs, and now she works for the state of Arizona. So, one person at a time, and we're happy that she's no longer needing our services at the end of the day. I mean, that's kind of what we all want to do. And so we have a partnership with the local high schools here to do 3D printing, getting them excited for the JTED program. And then also what we're going to be doing here pretty soon is we're going to be offering Google IT certificates programs to get people into the entry-level IT world jobs. We're in the process of becoming a post-secondary institute in the state of Arizona. So hopefully sometime in December, we'll have that status. And then also people that in the community that they might buy a new laptop, whatever, something technology driven. We have open technology help hours. And then even basically how to use the internet, what it is. We have these types of programs. Again, robotics for kids, which you see in the upper left picture. And then also in January, we have an introduction to coding, so Python, etc. Next slide, please. This has been a development for the last 3 years. This is Project Azul or Project Arizona Uniting Lives. What you see there is a 46-foot fully outfitted trailer that's got a bathroom, a private office, a classroom, high-speed satellite internet, so we could take it anywhere on the road, and we can offer everything what we offer here at our site. So some of our rural partners are Aravaca, Amado, Summit. We're going to be expanding into Cochise, and then even also working with the Tohono O'odham Nation, bringing basically a classroom on wheels. And whatever the community requests, we'll be working with partners because, again, we don't want to do this all ourselves. We want to work with partners. So these are pictures. We deploy the unit for our first event on Saturday, October 7th in Aravaca, and we're excited for that event. Thank you for allowing us to present.
We will welcome up to the stage Dr. Alice Christie. How are you, Dr. Alice?
Here we go. All righty. Thank you. So unlike many of the organizations we've heard from this morning, Tinkertopia is a small nonprofit that I developed and founded about 5 years ago. I'm going to fix this. Sorry. We are in Northern Arizona in Flagstaff, and we are in a public housing community where 63% of our population is Native American, 32% Hispanic, 3% African American, and 2% white. There are, in the 100 homes that we serve, 3 homes have internet access. The rest rely exclusively on their phone for any kind of connectivity. Flagstaff Unified School District gives an iPad to every student, but our kids are disadvantaged because they are not able to do their homework at home and things like that. So we are a STEAM community center. Most of you know the word STEM. Add the A for the arts and you get STEAM. And our focus is really on helping kids discover their creativity, helping them develop curiosity, wonder. We focus a lot on collaboration, but we like kids to learn in an environment that's colorful and fun. And so this is just a short overview of our manifesto. We also are focusing on those skills that are needed in what we now refer to as the 21st century, that we're almost a quarter of the way through. But things like grit and perseverance and resilience and teamwork. And my favorite is confidence, trying to build creative confidence in these kids. Our motto is to think with your hands and learn by doing, so that we're always focusing individually on kids and their learning. So the pillars of the Digital Equity Institute, as you can see, human-centered, collaborative, generative, trust-based, and lifespan-focused. At Tinkertopia, we are engaged in each of these, as you can see. So we're definitely focusing on the child. These are pictures from our center. We're working, doing slime, making robots. This little fellow loves to make skateboards. And then we're also very collaborative, because we find when kids are working together, so much more gets done. They have so good ideas to share. So these are pictures of a day that we created a solar oven and made s'mores. And you can see it was very enjoyed by the kids. In terms of generative, we are offering opportunities for kids to create on their own, through coding, through making movies, through interactive stories and puppet shows. These are things that are going to help the kids develop those skills and develop that confidence, and hopefully move into the digital age well equipped to be employed in our community. Trust, I think, was probably our biggest challenge. We have been working consistently to engage the community in everything that we do. The picture on the left shows many of the neighborhood children helping us build the community garden, where we have vegetables and flowers that are there to enjoy and eat. And then we always try to engage different children of different backgrounds, and help them understand the different perspectives that people unlike themselves come from. And finally, we are lifespan focused. Our learners are aged 1 to 103. We believe that starting children really, really young helps build that curiosity that will catapult them into the next generation. So here you can see a lot of STEAM activities and a literacy activity that we offer. Our biggest challenge is, first of all, bringing internet to the community. But secondly, providing classes for every age so that they can take advantage of that internet connectivity. Right now, the $30 credit is not even relevant because they do not have internet in their homes. So helping us bring that to the community and Northern Arizona will be truly amazing. We're totally independent, very small nonprofit, and we're very honored to be part of the program today. Our focus is really, once internet is more available across the state of Arizona, predominantly the northern part, is to help with that learning component, with that education component that is so necessary once the internet's in place. So thank you much. I'd love to hear from many of you if you would like to do any collaboration with us.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for allowing me a few minutes to talk about Digital Connect. We are based out of the Gila River Indian community, which is approximately 600 square miles of tribal reservation land just south of Phoenix. But as you can see on the map here, we stretch pretty far east to west. So all the way from Florence and Coolidge in Pinal County up to Levine and Avondale in Maricopa County. And I always like to share just a few images of our community to give you a sense of the geography. So on the left here, we have what's called the Managed Aquifer Recharge site in District 2. And that's an important both ecological and cultural site for us. You might have heard, well, the name river is in our name, Gila River Indian Community, so our water is very important to us. But we also have a lot of modern amenities. There on the bottom right is the newest service center, which is where we host a lot of our classes and trainings as Digital Connect. So Digital Connect is made up of 4 people: myself, Amanda McDonald, Carmen Baldwin Ortega, and Tyler Smith. Tyler is our digital navigator, and we're grateful to receive a National Digital Navigator Corps grant towards the end of last year, actually about this time last year, and hired Tyler Smith about 11 months ago. And he's been doing a great job getting out in the community as our main digital navigator, although when we host group classes, all 4 of us get to interact with our community members, which is a lot of fun. Just this morning, I was in Casablanca or Bagechul, District 5, and working with some of the elders there. Carmen and Tyler were in District 6, working with the folks out on the West End. So we try to get out as often as possible. Our mission has, if you saw this presentation last year, you might be thinking this is a little bit shorter. We tried to make it a little more succinct for people. The Digital Connect Initiative is a community service, and we exist to help people improve their quality of life using modern technology. And one thing that we've learned a lot over the past year is that really most folks are not coming to us because they want to learn about technology per se. They want to connect with somebody online, or they want to pay a bill, or they want to accomplish something else in the world. Maybe it's learning about gardening, or maybe it's listening to their oldies on Pandora or YouTube. And technology can be a barrier in that way. So our goal is to help folks improve their quality of life by lowering that barrier, by removing or reducing that barrier through technology training. So that's our whole goal, is focusing on other people's goals and just accommodating them from a technology standpoint as much as possible. So the way we do that, currently we have a handful of projects that are in process. From the top center and then going around clockwise, we have tech skills workshops, which are in-person trainings, and they're open-ended, so anybody can participate in those. And most folks, they bring their own laptop, tablet, or smartphone, and we just do one-on-one services. It's the same thing as our digital navigator services, but the only difference being that digital navigator services are not scheduled, they are on demand. So anybody can call in and request help. I guess technically we can do help over the phone, but we really prefer to get that one-on-one in-person support, and our elders appreciate that as well. We have a handful of community partnerships. So we are working with the local Head Start and Employment and Training Department, which Head Start is a part of our school system, to provide iPad training to the families of our students there. And unfortunately, a lot of times we have elders, like grandparents, who are the primary caretaker for those children. So it's always helpful to have someone there to help out with using an iPad and engaging with the school in any sort of digital means. We're also working on a project to bring free public Wi-Fi to the local service centers. We are creating right now a digital inclusion study, which will help us better assess the landscape of digital equity in Gila River. We are also, the last one on that list is an apprenticeship program. So this is about workforce development and helping to expand the, or I guess create new opportunities for people to participate in the information and communication technology field. So we have 4 apprenticeship positions open right now. They just opened like 2 weeks ago. So we're hoping to fill those pretty soon and give people a new stable career. Also want to note our partners. So we've been an NDIA affiliate for a while, and we received a grant from NTIA, but most recently, just within the past 2 months, we signed an agreement with Senior Planet from AARP, and we'll be offering those trainings starting next month. Well, no, sorry, it's already October, later this month. So we'll be doing Senior Planet training out in Gila River pretty soon here. So, I mean, that's pretty much it for Digital Connect. You're welcome to visit our website, but please don't do it too quickly because it's under construction. So we're trying to rebuild our website. Go ahead and visit it, but it'll look a little bit different here in a couple of weeks. That's it, Stephanie. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, everybody. I wanted to start by saying that I am a Caucasian male, brown hair, dressed casually today in a blue shirt, and proudly displaying the American flag from my father's service. I wanted to actually jump to the end real quick because I'm just completely blown away by all of the solutions that have been discussed around digital literacy and skill training. And so I just want to say, I'm hoping that we'll all have an opportunity to connect, to try to put together the optimal solution for the learners in Arizona and beyond. So hopefully you'll all just reach out to me and we can connect to talk about that. Learning.com is a provider of digital literacy solutions. Historically, it's been to school districts throughout the U.S. I want to just make a call out to Common Sense Education. We are a partner with Common Sense Education in the K-12 space. Look forward to continuing that. But we are now expanding our solutions to learners of all ages to help them be successful in the digital world. I just wanted to talk about the solution we think we'd like to bring to market with these partners. And it's around digital empowerment. And really what we mean by that is we want to meet the learners where they are. And I've heard that a couple of times today. Meeting the learners where they are and equipping them to take control of their own digital agenda. That's really what we're about. Go ahead and advance the animation here. We don't provide solutions in the area of access and connectivity. I'm glad that there's a lot of folks on this call that are doing that. But what we do want to focus on are the 3 other areas by empowering communities to serve their unserved community members. And we want to focus on these 3 areas: digital readiness, which is really providing the basic foundational skills needed for these learners, and then follow that up by use and application so that they can integrate technology and the use of these skills into their everyday lives. And then perhaps most importantly, it's about representation, helping the learners to see themselves in the content that they're using and the technology work and opportunities that are available to them. And so those are the 3 areas that we really want to focus on over the next 12 to 18 months and eventually rolling out. I want to just a call out to Erin, Carr-Jordan, and her team at DEI. We will be participating in the rollout in Maricopa County. I've learned a lot from these folks, as well as many of you that are on this call. This is the 2nd year of presenting for us. And over the last year, we've tried to do a lot of active listening And that's ultimately going to result in a solution that I'm going to share with you here in just a moment. And that is really to enable our community anchor institutions throughout the region to equip them to build capacity to serve their residents, meeting the learners where they are, and then providing the digital learning platform, curriculum, training, and community outreach support that they need to do that. And ultimately, as I've mentioned, collaborate with a whole bunch of other partners to deliver the optimal learning experience that's needed. So I'm just going to show you what is being built right now and what we're hoping to bring to market over just the next few months. And it really is a platform that's focused on a remote first environment. So we're focusing on a remote first platform that will support any type of device that the user might be utilizing, and automatically adjusts to that platform. Multiple language support. So again, in order to meet the user where they are, we want to support the user's language requirements, both in a script as well as through a closed caption environment. I love this feature. It's the ability to choose your teacher. And so the users can select a teacher that best represents them and follow that teacher throughout the learning experience. Accessibility controls, again, meeting these learners where they are and supporting their needs for accessibility. One of the things that we recognize is that these users may not always have connectivity, and so the platform will support a disconnected learner and then synchronize the experience when they reconnect. That way we are never disconnected, if you will, from the learning experience for the learners. And finally, we want to provide the learner the opportunity to provide feedback and tell us what they're learning, how they're feeling about what they're learning, and any feedback that can ultimately be integrated into the solution for future releases. So I just wanted to, again, make a call out. If you're interested in connecting on how we may partner on the promise of digital empowerment, I would appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. Again, thanks to DEI ASU for the opportunity to speak today.
So I am the Deputy Director of Support Services for the Pima County Public Library, and I am the Director of the newly formed Office of Digital Inclusion for Pima County. So I actually serve in two roles, and it is exciting times for me here at work. But I will say that everything I've heard here today, I'm very excited about the partnerships that are happening, because for Pima County, we have worked with many of the organizations here in this call. I can't say enough about the state library and everything that they do. Working with Erin on efforts for the digital equity plan, and working with Cox Communications as an internet service provider and county government partnership. We have done some phenomenal things. And so I just want to show you some information about what's happening in Pima County, and really hit on why digital literacy is important, but why it's not the only thing that's important. Connect Pima. I have previously in the chat put in Connect Pima's website. You can go to pima.gov/connect-Pima. There is a reason it's called Connect Pima, because the state of Arizona, the state library calls their efforts Connect Arizona, and we are trying to make sure that we are following in the footsteps of those best practices related to what's happening in the state, but also developing something that is comprehensive in Pima County. So we do have our strategic plan, and our strategic plan is for digital infrastructure and inclusion, and it is called Connect Pima. That is what our digital, our strategic plan is. And on our website, you'll be able to see all kinds of information, and this navigation bar hangs out, and there's very detailed information. So just as the As One website was being promoted in the chat, talking about Maricopa County and all of the mapping that is happening for Maricopa County and being able to look at the demographics, you will find that information on this website as well as it relates to Pima County. So digital literacy. Digital literacy is extremely important and skill building. And oftentimes we hear in the conversation that, you know, we're trying to fix the digital divide, and our efforts are focused on those individuals that don't have things in their homes. And that is extremely important. But in digital inclusion, we have to go across the range, from those individuals who don't have things in their homes to individuals who are attempting to upskill, to get better employment, to have a career rather than a job. And so some of the conversations that we've had have to do with workforce development, but and how lives are changed by that. Additionally, things that we see in public libraries, I call them unfunded mandates, right? The state or the government decides all of the forms that you have to fill out to get services are now online, and individuals don't have access maybe to what they need in the home or to a person that can help them walk through the process. We've all talked about it today, ACP, Digital Navigator help. If you've attempted to fill out one of those applications, you know how difficult it can be. And if there is someone that doesn't have good enough language skills or good enough computer use skills, they're going to struggle. And that is why digital inclusion is so important. That is why the public library is so important. I could get on my soapbox for much more than 5 minutes. But I just kind of want to go through the information that is here real quickly. So some of the things that we are doing basically to improve digital literacy in Pima County is, one, promote the resources of the public library. Now, why is that important? Hopefully you all can you see this screen? It says become digitally savvy with your library. Great, I see a nodding head. This is in promotion of Digital Inclusion Week and really truly just highlighting all of the great stuff that is happening at the library and what we have access to. So a lot of the providers today, we're talking about resources for people to learn how to use the computer. Well, we have that as well. Digital Learn has computer basics and it's in English and Spanish. We also have online tutoring through BrainFuse, and this is for children as well as adults. And we always promote GCF Learn Free because their tutorials are phenomenal in how to do things, not just from how to use the computer, but also how to do workplace activities. So it is it's a very awesome thing. But on the other end of that, those individuals who do have computer skills and want to upskill, the library provides access to Coursera online as well as Udemy online. And then we also have information for Learning Express Library and Universal Class. So Learning Express Library, I'm going to school and I want to be a doctor. I can study for the GMAT. I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a law enforcement officer. Learning Express Library has all of the testing prep resource information that you need in order to be able to get these jobs. And so this is why it's real important. And then we continue to promote the state library and the digital navigators. I think if you ask the team at the state library, they probably say Pima County refers more people to the digital navigators than anybody else, because we have a lot of people that are calling in asking for assistance, be it that they don't know how to use their newest Kindle or tablet because somebody wants to, you know, that they gave it to them to download an ebook, or that they're struggling to do an ACP application or get other kinds of subsidies or assistance. So it's extremely important. And then other things that we have in the community that we do all the time is we provide free Wi-Fi at our libraries. We also provide mobile hotspot checkouts and soon Chromebook checkouts to go with that. We have drop-in computer and technology classes, and those will become more robust after the first of the year. And we even have Code Club, which is a phenomenal thing. So one last thing that I do want to highlight as part of this, Pima County created the Hotspots Around Town project with Cox Communications. This is a great thing because along with digital literacy, you have to provide access to people where they are. So there are 120 community hotspots all over Pima County where people can get free internet because of our partnership, and it is PCPL on the Go is the SID, and people can access the internet for free. But the hope is that this creates a bridge. So people see that the library has provided them free internet. They come to the library for more information. We're able to engage them to find out what they have at home, maybe help them with an ACP application, connect them to a resource so that they can get a device in their home. And now they're learning to use the internet as engaging with us at the library with computer classes or with a community organization. And Connect Pima and the Office of Digital Inclusion is pulling all of those things together. Not only, so our Instagram contest, just so you're aware, is just this week during Digital Inclusion Week, but we also have a Facebook contest, all right? So look on the Pima County Public Library's Facebook page or Pima County's Facebook page, as well as the library's Instagram page to participate. You only have to be 18. Go take a selfie. It's a great thing, and it is something that is promoting digital inclusion, and so that people are learning about all of the resources that we have in the community, and how we can make sure that we're creating that reciprocal relationship, right? So Connect Pima does infrastructure, digital literacy, and access to tools all together. And really, I think I'll just leave it right there. That's what we have going on here in Pima County, and what is important about digital literacy and skill building from my perspective. Thanks so much for your time.
Courtney, welcome. How are you?
Hello. Always inspired. So thank you all for sharing and for all the great ideas. My name is Courtney Anderson. I work for the City of Phoenix Housing Department. I am a project manager over digital and community programs. I'm also the lead for Connect Home Phoenix and the newly Phoenix Housing Connect program as of May 2020. I have brown hair, green eyes. I'm a female of Western European descent. I am wearing forest green jumpsuit today, and it's because I'm trying to wear the fall colors to hopefully entice some cooler fall weather. In my background, I have the Saluna Apartments, which is one of our affordable housing sites that was recently developed in 2020. I'm going to share a little bit about the Phoenix Housing Connect program. As we said, it was created in around May of 2020 as a way to bridge the digital divide that our housing residents were facing. In the last couple of years, we have distributed over 2,500 devices and to families with school-age children, to seniors, adults of working age. These devices come with 2 years of T-Mobile service that are prepaid through our program. I have definitely also included here a little bit of feedback from some of our residents. Each time we do a deployment, we reach back out after a little bit and make sure that they're not having any issues with their devices, asking them for some feedback on what they're being able to use the devices for. And what's really nice is we can ultimately think what residents are able to use this for, or predict. We may be able to have them fill out surveys where they say they may use it for this or that. But when they actually write back and say they were able to get a certificate, or they were able to ensure that their student finished school or got tutoring, that they were able to job skill, as Anna Orozco did here in this quote that I shared, that's where the impact and where this work really hits home. So in the last several years, actually this last year, we have distributed 900 devices. 300 devices went out to residents at our senior housing sites. 600 went out to several of our other Phoenix housing residents who live at affordable and public housing sites. So one other thing that I'll share just kind of about that last thing, as we reach out to the residents and kind of get their feedback, we are hearing that they're using these devices to stay connected to friends and family, participate in community activities. They're using the device for work and school, for telehealth, to look for work and to upskill. As Michelle was sharing, to apply for social services, you can't apply for anything anymore without using, the internet, to shop and bank. So I want to kind of hit on training as something that we had that was very different during our first deployments in 2020. We had no one assisting us. It was only housing. The way we had to do it was very quick, send them on their way, kind of follow up on the phone. We're doing something very, very different this year during deployments. We have several of our partners. We've had T-Mobile out. We've had digital navigators provided to us from the Digital Equity Institute. We've had Premier Wireless from Texas who's been out to help us at our deployments. So we're doing one-on-one training with the residents. A lot of times what that means, especially initially, is showing them how to turn on the device, showing them how to create an email or an iCloud account, different volume buttons, just kind of really the basics, especially with our seniors. One of the things we're also able to do as we're doing the deployments is we are doing pre-program surveys, which is really essential. We are getting email addresses for everyone who's receiving devices, which is great because that's great for follow-up. If they have any issues and everything like that, we can also push them class schedules. We're also determining here during our pre-program surveys what kind of help that they're needing, what apps they're already using that they find beneficial, what are their hobbies? Maybe we can connect them to apps that would, that they'd like to use. We ask them questions about cybersecurity. Do they know what it is? I put a statistic down at the bottom where it says 67% of our senior residents that were recently surveyed did not know what cybersecurity is or how to remain safe while using the internet. And so one of the things that we've recently done is we're not only working with T-Mobile to do some senior trainings to ensure that they're really understanding what they're able to do on their device and how to stay safe using it, but we've also hired a temporary staff whose main focus is senior training, finding partners who do senior training, and then also putting together several different cybersecurity programs and training presentations himself that he'll be doing not only to kick off Public Safety Awareness Month, which is this month, but we're just going to be doing a lot around training our seniors to stay safe on the internet and to avoid internet scams and fraud. One quick thing that I'll also mention is this year we had a kickoff of a digital navigator program at one of our housing sites. It only has 78 units, so they get a lot of one-on-one attention. Some of the things that he's been able to do in this last year is he's been helping with ACP enrollment, signing up for online, social service, telehealth services, showing them how to, log on to meet with their doctor, learning how to use the Chromebook. He's really been our tier 1 support at this location, and he's hosted some Chromebook classes, how to use your Chromebook, because every single household at that site received a Chromebook. So he's been, Jonathan is his name, and he's been doing a lot of work to ensure that everybody there is enjoying their new devices. He's also doing a digital newsletter that he's sending out quarterly that covers, places to get refurbished devices, helpful applications, cybersecurity tips, all those great things. To my last slide here, I want to talk about the future because I don't know where 2023 went, but we are headed into 2024. And one of the questions that we asked in the pre-program survey that I have been asking since January of 2023 is if there was a spot in your community to get help using your computers, getting on your devices, where to buy devices, how to sign up for ACP. If there was a spot in your community that's walkable that you could get to get help using technology, would you attend? Would you like that? And 97% of those who were surveyed said yes, which I expect because I am also the tier 1 support for our entire program. So I am doing a lot of assistance with our residents. So we are partnering with the Digital Equity Institute, which I'm extremely excited about, Sun Corridor Network that we've been working with, this last year as well. This is the Hive at Aero Terrace, but I'm, calling it for now. It's a community space, a temporary pilot that we're going to be doing at the Aero Terra Community Center, which is directly in the middle of our community, the heart of our community, at the Edison East Lake community, where we have a choice neighborhood grant. This center is previously a resident lounge. It's never used. I can't wait to see it activated and where community can get help with all their needs. Digital Equity Institute will be helping by providing digital navigators for the space. It is smaller than a normal space will be, but that's why it's temporary. What we're hoping is that we're going to be able to provide, all the data that shows that this is a space that was well utilized and well loved, and we are going to get a permanent space in the next, in about 2025 for a digital equity spot in the Edison East Lake community. And so, along with this, though, our residents here in the Edison East Lake community all receive devices, whether they are the iPads for the seniors or the Chromebooks. Everybody has devices with 2 years of T-Mobile service, and actually about 1 year has been used. We are working on a community-wide Wi-Fi plan with Sun Corridor Network, and so these go hand in hand. Residents will be not only connected, but they'll have devices that we've provided. They'll be connected through our partnership with Sun Corridor Network, and then they will have the place that they can go when they feel like they need help, they have questions. They want to just come and enjoy the space. This space is an open community space, and I am so excited about it. Thank you, as always, for having me here, for letting me be a part of this, and as always, to Erin and the Digital Equity Institute for creating a space for us all to learn from each other and share. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Courtney. We're going to pivot now to talking about STEM education and workforce development. So we'll first hear from Sharika Jackson, who is the founder of Future Stars. Then we'll talk to Mark Paulson from SciTech Institute. And while we're hearing from Sharika, if you could let us know what STEM education and workforce development projects we should prioritize in 2024 in the Zoom chat and share any relevant links, that would be fantastic. So welcome, Sharika.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sharika Jackson, the founder CEO of Future Stars, Inc. I am wearing a green polo with black and red hair with readers, and I'm African American, and I am a Phoenix native, and I am a Wildcat, University of Arizona, bear down. So Future Stars, I founded it in 2008 to provide STEM education and college readiness for the youth in the community that I grew up in. And so with that, we've been now in our 9th year of our hands-on STEM program. But our main mission is to make sure that we provide opportunities for inner city youth to achieve their goals in higher education, as well as with a focus on technology. So our vision is to make sure that we provide the necessary tools for the students to achieve what they need to achieve through a fun learning environment. We value every child. We believe every child is a star. And so that's why we created the name Future Stars, because you are a star no matter what you do. A lot of people think we're a modeling agency, but we're not. We're creating stars in whatever careers they would like to be in, because we need to take that word back from celebrities and models and just know that your child is a star. And so one of the things we are focusing on is the problem, right? We all know that there's a lack of diversity in STEM education or in STEM careers. As a woman of color that works in tech and have worked in tech for the last 24 years, being the only one in the space, usually the only woman or the only African-American person in the room, how do I change that? So I saw a need, created a solution, and that is what our hands-on STEM programming and some of the new programs that we have launched this year that I will definitely be talking about. So we all know that the jobs that our kids are currently going to work in do not exist right now. So how do we prepare them for that? How do we get them ready for the jobs that don't exist? Because it's changing every day. And so that is what we do within our programs. We are here to close the gap. We are here to make sure that we have interactive STEM programming. Right now, most of our programs take place in the South Phoenix community, as well as we are expanding to the West Valley. You know, I graduated from Maryville High School, so getting back over there. We're partnering with community centers with the city of Phoenix, as well as other organizations in the Valley to make sure that we're able to increase STEM awareness and exposing them to all different aspects of STEM. We do throw the arts in there, you know, but none of us are very artistic because a lot of us work in the STEM space. So, you know, we'll throw a little creativity. So our art may be the melted crayon, right? So how did you melt the crayon? But then you get some art. So it's throwing both of them together in that space.
She doesn't understand theme, that's for sure.
Yeah, like
So it is, so like I was saying, our major program is our hands-on STEM program, which started in 2015. It's currently in its 9th year. It's currently in 2 locations in South Phoenix, 2 different community centers where we are there 4 hours a month, and we have between 15 to 30 students that may enroll, and we get to just do hands-on in a variety of different areas, from building robots to, like I said, melted crayon, to a variety of things that, and also what the students may be interested in. We also have our mentorship program, our career and college readiness program, which is our mentorship program, which prepares high school students and or college students for careers. What is that career going to look like? Where are they going to go? And how do we make it happen? So we guide and direct them in that space. We also have our, we were lucky enough to launch our Coding Stars. So we are 4 weeks into our new program which is coding, which is in two community centers as well as a school in South Phoenix. And so it's going to be a 9-month program, 4 days a week for 90 minutes. And so we're exposing them to coding in a variety of different atmospheres. Right now, the first activity was peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We've all did that when we were in school. But if you really think about it, it's coding, right? It's how do you write instructions to create a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And so we're using that as the base to get them to understand what coding is. Another new program that we launched this year is our STEM competition. So there's a lot of organizations working with high school kids already, and they want to get into the STEM space in their mentorship programs. So we've created a competition program that will allow them. We're providing the kits, we're providing the rubrics, we're providing everything that they need. And in their monthly meetings, they will work and build. And then in March 30th, they will come to South Mountain Community College and they will present. The winning organization wins $1,000, and it's going to allow them to work in their mentorship programs and add STEM to it, which some of the organizations didn't have before. We also have a senior technology conference that is coming up on October 19th for the senior citizens to talk about cybersecurity, as well as talking about the basic use of the computers. It is open and free to the public. And we are excited about all the new things that we have going on and the continued expansion that we are able to do. So I just wanted to give you all a quick highlight of what our, what year are we in? 2023/2024 school year is. So we have 5 amazing things happening. If you would love to get more information about our organization, just check out our website, futurestarsaz.org, or go to our Facebook page or Instagram page, or you can send me an email and I would love to share and figure out how we can collaborate in partnerships and move things forward. Thanks for your time. You all have a great day.
Thank you, Sharika. We're going to move quickly over to Mark. Mark, what's going on at the SciTech Institute?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity today to discuss what SciTech has been up to regarding workforce development. My name is Mark Paulson. I am the Workforce Development Coordinator at SciTech Institute. My hair color is brown. I am a Caucasian male. I'm wearing a blue shirt, polo to be specific, as well as a gray sweater. It's kind of cold in the office. And I'm in a soundproof booth in Tempe. We have an open concept seating in the office. I've been serving as the K-12's space for almost 2 decades now, not only as a classroom teacher, but also as a STEM coach, as well as a STEM specialist, helping principals guide the perplexities of STEM education. And at SciTech, what we really like to do is connect people to STEM opportunities. So as the Workforce Development Coordinator, I like to connect students exploring career opportunities, high school graduates, as well as adults potentially changing careers with different resources, education, and pathways needed to succeed in any type of STEM field. So what I've been really working on is an asset map, and into chat, I'm just going to go ahead and put a link to this document that I've been working on. More specifically, this asset map is a map for computer science that we're working on with USAA. And what this asset map is going to be addressing is essentially a comprehensive resource that can help any type of individual identify and access the assets in their area. So that could be opportunities, support that can help them. So I'm currently working with different CTE directors on specifically computer science. What are they offering within that space? Community colleges for high school dual enrollment courses, work-based learning opportunities that are available to students in specific regions, certificates for community colleges, as well as four-year degrees. And this is where it kind of really gets interesting, and the conversations are starting to switch, are what are the essential skills and competencies that K-12 is offering, but also what is also being available to on the industry side. So what are the essential and technical skills that HR is looking for? So a lot of my conversations now have switched to HR and their hiring practices and communicating what are those essential and technical skills that they are looking for currently right now, computer science, new hires, and then translating that work down to K-12. So that way there is an alignment and a vertical alignment, not only to K-12, but now also within the workforce. So this asset map is essentially empowering individuals by providing them with clear, accessible information. And what we really want to do is remove any type of barriers that might exist. So right now, this link, this map is really link heavy, and we want to remove those links so that way parents and students now can start to access this tangible resource, and they can start to answer that question of why are we learning this today in class? So if you can imagine a 6th grader looking at this map and they're saying, well, why do I need to learn ELA to get this to this end of this pot of the rainbow here of this computer science degree or certificate, so they can see now that there is a progression of why they are learning what they're learning today. So if you are interested in helping out, by all means, I'm looking for multiple resources that students can have. I'll put my email into chat if you are willing to help. I want to connect HR to K-12. I want to work with not only classroom teachers, but this can help guidance counselors, AVID teachers, CTE. There's a plethora of different people who can benefit from this map. Also at SciTech, we are having a STEM and Innovation Summit on October 24th. And if you've not gone to the STEM and Innovation Summit, it is essentially connecting educators in industries, and they just network together. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of that information as well as into chat. So if you're interested, there is a coupon code for all of you, as well as a sign up. Thank you for your time.
We're going to pivot quickly over to telehealth. So we're going to hear from our friends Janet and Tara, and apologies that we're running so late, but we'd love to learn more about the Arizona telemedicine programs.
Thank you for inviting us. We're very excited to be here. My name's Janet Major, and I am part of the amazing team at the Arizona Telemedicine Program and Southwest Telehealth Resource Center, coming to you live from Tucson, Arizona, and the College of Medicine Arizona Health Sciences Center is where I'm based. And also joining us today from our team is Tara Sklar. And let me briefly introduce and describe me. I have brown hair, brown eyes. I'm a French Canadian girl who immigrated to Tucson, Arizona. And I am wearing like an olive green shirt. And my background is the beautiful Grand Canyon. And I'd like to please ask Tara Sklar, live from Washington, D.C., to please introduce and describe herself.
I'm also with University of Arizona, bear down. I have dark brown hair, brown eyes. I am Panamanian American, and I am based in Washington, D.C. My background is all the different affiliations I have at the University of Arizona, which is primarily around telehealth, digital health and equity, and healthy aging. And I oversee our health law and policy program. So I'll turn it back to Janet. We're going to have a quick back and forth. We know it's been a super long, exciting summit. So go ahead, Janet.
Thank you all so much for being here. And we have the pleasure of pondering this amazing question: what telehealth projects should be prioritized in 2024? And I sure would love to hear from you, what you and your community feel are priorities. I would also love to share with you what I think are those priorities. And I'm a lucky girl because look at me, I have the podium. And I do hope that you'll take the time to say in chat what you think is very important, because I believe that when we think about telehealth and telemedicine and tele anything, obviously we need to be aware of the telecommunications connectivity and the technology, but also the training. And I'm here to tell you, as an expert and advocate in all three of those areas, it's not about the technology. I think that often that's a misnomer, but I think I'd also like to emphasize that this is something that we've been up against here in Arizona and developing telehealth services here in Arizona. And it all began with analog inclusion, right? When we first started as a network, we were doing really great things using analog technology. So when you think about it, analog inclusion, everybody getting a phone line never would have happened without legislation. And I think that's why it really is important that we do talk about telehealth legislation today as we talk about network and inclusiveness and equity. And I think that if you think in terms of how telehealth developed here in Arizona, it's no surprise that, of course, it's very well developed where the connectivity existed, and we still have a long ways to go. There are amazing things happening in northern Arizona, southern Arizona. There was not enough broadband in the western part of our state, so the Arizona Commerce Authority and our broadband office and our friend and colleague Amanda Aguirre and other stakeholders got together. And now on the western side of our state, Amanda Aguirre and the Border Health Office can offer telehealth services to 3 western counties, and that's how great things happen. So you can see where I'm going with this, because where then do we need to start thinking about is the eastern part of our state. The other places that I really think that need to be mentioned is, of course, the Navajo Nation, where our friend and colleague Mala Moraligeron has almost single-handedly connected 9 chapters on the western slope. And then on the right, you see the Tohono O'odham Nation, where the Arizona Commerce Authority has awarded a broadband planning grant, which are genius when you think about it. Communities need to know, they need to plan what they need, determine what they need. And these are 2 projects, 2 sites that are very near and dear to the Health Connect Telehealth and Library project. So if you look at the state of Arizona, we are huge, and how do we do this in a fair and equitable way? How can we actually say that we are inclusive of all of our counties in Arizona? This is critical. What already exists, what funding has already been funded, and where do we go from there? The other thing that I think is important to understand is we have to have a plan for people who don't have a cell phone in their pocket and the internet in their home. And this is those hives. This is those public spaces for private conversations, kiosks, food banks, the library, community health centers, you name it. So there's links to these great projects to learn more. We've kicked off Health Connect with a Community Health Day. And what a great way to encourage people to use technology to take charge of their own health, especially when they have these devices available. And now we want their primary care providers to encourage people to take charge of their own health. Now, this has happened. It's not just a great idea. It's exploding across the United States. There's now 20 different states. There's more. That's just who we know about, right? 20 different states are doing telehealth and libraries. And the success of this program really depends upon those navigators and digital health navigators. These are the folks who are the trusted community members And we need to train them to train the end users, because library patrons, librarians, first of all, manage the devices. Library patrons, we really want to teach them, as well as the folks who go to the food bank, if they're worried and working on their nutrition and diabetes management, we want to train them how to do these things. And those digital navigators and community health workers now have a billing code. And this is really important. This has taken years of groundwork. Community health workers can now go to the library and teach a community member how to participate in a breast cancer support group, how to participate in diabetes education, and there's more information there. Now, I think about $1 billion, and you've already heard it today. I can put my head around $1 million or $2 million, but $1 billion is a big chunk of change. And as already has been mentioned, it's not enough money, but optimistically, I have to say, if we are very fiduciarily responsible and we do look at things county by county, we can do a great job with how we spend that money. And we absolutely have to take into consideration legislatively and equitably, and with regards to inclusiveness, how do we define that? And how do we make sure that that's what happens? And we're very fortunate that we have Tara Sklar here, who is an expert in these things and can help share some of her insights.
Oh, what a great segue. Thank you, Janet. So I'm a lawyer by training, and what I work on with the Arizona Telemedicine Program is telehealth law and policy. And I just want to highlight here how much words matter when we talk about the definition of telehealth and how that has an impact on digital health and equity, and specifically in this context, access to healthcare. So I'll just give one or two examples of what I mean by that. In the chat is the policy summit coming up, where we'll talk more about legislation related to making telehealth even more accessible through all those different approaches that Janet just mentioned. Quickly, these next two slides are just to highlight how digital inclusion has an impact in telehealth on access to care. So this is a great study from the Office of National Coordinator for Health Information Technology. And this is where primary care physicians were citing like what was causing problems with using telehealth with their patients. And number one, it was patients' difficulty using technology. And then it was limitations with how to access, including things such as broadband. So all those issues we just discussed are major barriers to accessing care with telehealth. So this is another study that's really interesting when you think about virtual care in general and how it's expanding. Is the majority of people, vast majority, say they like using telehealth, they're satisfied with it, but do they prefer it over in-person care? And that's where you get a big disparity. The idea being that how to use all those things we've been talking about with libraries, digital health navigators, improving digital literacy, so that healthcare is not only accessible, but even preferred in certain circumstances, so that it can remain a meaningful part of our health system going forward, especially in case we should have another pandemic, to be ready for it, as opposed to scrambling like we did with COVID. So I just wanted to talk about Arizona for a second, because we have a really specific definition when it comes to telehealth that has implications for digital inclusion. We carve out all the different modalities that can be used in telehealth, even specifically audio only, which is concerning for groups that don't have access to broadband, can't have a live video audio appointment. So more and more states are introducing this Uniform Telehealth Act legislation. And I think this type of definition can be much more broad and encompassing of all the different ways people use technology, even things we don't know about yet, to access their health care. So something to think about where we currently are in Arizona, which is very good and inclusive, but how it might even be better in the future. One thing to really celebrate in Arizona is that we have parity for virtual care with in-person care, meaning providers receive the same amount of reimbursement no matter how the appointment is taking place. And that is not the case in most states, and that is not the case for all modalities. So there's something that we have here that we really need to think about with how we define telehealth, so that it can continue to offer the widest access to care possible. This is a resource we have with the Arizona Telemedicine Program. It's our blog, and in it, we have one of my students wrote this really moving piece about being an Iranian immigrant with, lower income parents in a rural part of Arizona who were trying to access healthcare for her grandparents. And it was with English was their second language. They basically hit every single one of these prompts when we think about the digital divide. And in this article and in other resources we have on the Arizona Telemedicine Program website, we just talk about barriers that patients are encountering clinicians to, help fill the gap. Many of the programs that you all run and we're talking about. Just another resource, another perspective, specifically related to telehealth. Oh, this is the part that I think is really exciting. This is where legislation meets telehealth and meets digital health and inclusion as well. So this is something that Massachusetts has introduced, and it's where the state is requiring all payers that provide healthcare coverage to state employees to include these types of programs for the beneficiaries of the plan. So the actual statute, the law is called an Act relative to telehealth and digital equity for patients. And I think we're seeing more and more of these pop up across the country, focused in different ways, whether this is broader, where digital health literacy in general, but others focused on other aspects that highlight barriers to care, where the state is stepping in with legislation to help address those gaps. So it's a pretty exciting movement, and I hope we can do more of that in Arizona. Next slide. So that's exactly what we'll be talking about next, which is we have our upcoming summit. On October 24th, we're going to have 3 state legislators, bipartisan, talking about legislation they passed in this area, legislation they might be considering. We'll also have some leading national scholars talk about palliative care and healthcare and the Universal Telehealth Act. And then lastly, I'll turn it back over to Janet now, a fantastic session that she is moderating. And we really hope you all can attend. It's free, and we really, really welcome your input.
We have some really big star performers. We have our state broadband director, rock star, Sandeep Bhowmick. And then we also have Amanda Aguirre, who will be joining us from Yuma in person, who's just a wonderful person if you've never met her. And then we also have folks from Access who will be talking more about those billing codes for community health workers. And of course, the extension of that will be very relevant to many people here, because that will be extended to also groups and organizations. And wouldn't that be great to be able to actually be able to get reimbursed for teaching technology in a way that, particularly in healthcare, it's great, but I think that we'll also see that in other areas of our lives. So the future is bright, and I'm very thankful that we were able to be here. I'd like to include, without crashing and burning, the handout in chat, so that you have both mine and Tara's contact information, but also some other great upcoming events, because I'm very happy to also share that we do have a group of people here in Arizona that have been networking as an affiliate of NDIA. And we do have a wonderful event this Thursday that we hope will join us for open house from 12 to 1 and find out what everybody's doing here in Arizona in this great space. And here are many of the faces that you'll see there and that you've seen today, and are truly the leaders in digital inclusion here in Arizona. So thank you very much for having us, and thank you all for hanging in there. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Janet, and thank you all for your patience as we work together to bring you all of this amazing content. We did a lot of celebrating today, so thank you everyone for everything that you're doing to help inspire those around you and to promote digital equity and digital belonging in your neck of the woods. So with that, please look out for an email from us with some information. We'll share out the presentations today. And this video has been recorded and will be edited slightly, but we will post it on YouTube for everyone. And again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for sticking with us. And we hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Also, happy Digital Inclusion Week.
Woo!